John, man, they just won't let up, John.
No.
They just won't let up.
No.
Last week we had like a double-sized news because of all the Nintendo Direct and all the stuff that they talked about, and now TGS is here.
Yeah.
But we only have like one day of TGS, so by the time this comes out, they'll be on like TGS day 3 and 4. Which means that you guys are going to have TGS for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So welcome everybody back to the Rage Select Podcast here. Rage Select, I'm Jeff.
I'm John.
We have a lot to talk about today.
Yeah.
A lot of cool stuff, a lot of groovy stuff, a lot of new stuff. Did you know, John, that there are going to be 3 50-minute Death Stranding presentations at TGS this year?
No. Well, I knew there was going to be one.
Yeah. The second one is on Saturday and the third one is on Sunday.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap.
I spoiler, I know we're going to talk about it later.
Yeah.
But I kind of purposely just avoided all of it.
Yep. Well, we're going to, so I actually didn't make John watch any of this stuff because you want to kind of go in, you just don't want as much of the gritty detail that's in there.
I want to be surprised about whatever the fuck this is. I have watched the trailers, and I still feel like I know nothing, and I kind of have absolved myself to want to go into it still knowing nothing.
Okay. Well, I'm going to talk around a lot of it, but I still think that, we could do a 2-hour podcast where I just talked about the 50-minute demo that I watched last night.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk a little bit around it. But it's not the only thing at TGS.
No.
It's not Metal Gear, the Metal Gear show starring in Tokyo. We're going to talk about a lot of the stuff. But I do want to upfront say to people, there's probably going to be a lot more to talk about. It's just we're recording this on the Thursday before the Sunday when it comes out, and I know that the first day was yesterday, but that it's kind of coming back on Saturday and Sunday, so there's probably going to be a lot more to talk about.
It's coming back with a vengeance.
Hell, I didn't even take all the trailers because it was like, oh, here's Romancing Saga 3's trailer, or like a new Star Ocean re-release, and I'm like,
yeah.
So.
No, I'll be honest. When we talked about it last week, you thought you had posed the question of maybe recording on Friday instead of Thursday, and unfortunately I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I honestly was half expecting you to have Michael on instead of me. I think and so I didn't even bother watching anything from TGS. I just been watching old episodes of Kamen Rider all week.
Yeah.
It's just been in a weird happy place watching old Kamen Rider.
That sounds great. I was actually,
and also stuff on Shudder because I've actually signed up for Shudder.
I was surprised. I was actually thinking last week about how insane it was at 1:30 in the morning in Texas that I was watching the live stream from Tokyo of gameplay of Metal Gear, and I remember when 4 days after TGS you got 2 minutes worth of bad recording the screen footage. So we truly live in a magical time full of wonder and joy, and also horrible sorrow and disgusting nightmares. But before we get into all of those things, John, I ended up watching Fire Force last week.
Oh, nice.
On your recommendation.
I watched a few episodes of that.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot, unfortunately. I'm a little behind, but...
Well, I didn't realize it was still ongoing. I thought it would have been done by now.
No.
But I watched all the way up to it. It's good. It's good. I mean, I think, though, that I'm done with my anime binge because I watched that Astro Lost in Space, and I watched a bunch of stuff before that. And I think I'm going to Brooklyn Nine-Nine now because I've never really watched that, so I think I'm going to jump in there. But
yeah, as I said just a second ago, I'm watching a lot of Kamen Rider. Finished off the newest series, ZO, which just ended, and then watched the premiere of the new series that just started, which is called 01.
Okay.
And then because there's only one episode of that, I wanted to watch more, so now I'm watching some show called Forza.
Okay.
Which is all
not the
space.
Thomas Forza story.
No. Oh. This is all about outer space.
Did they make an anime based on my ramblings?
No.
God damn it!
No.
I want the money if that happens.
No, but yeah. So Kamen Rider's pretty awesome.
Okay, where do you even watch that?
I have places.
Oh, okay.
It's not licensed here in the States.
Okay, yeah.
So I have no way to legally get it here in the States.
Right.
I will.
Hey, less said about it, the better. There are places. The internet, it's a thing. Well, you know what? We got a lot to get through this week. So unless you have any other pressing business, let's sashay into talking about some Death Stranding.
Okay.
And I'm going to talk say what you
want to say. I don't care.
Okay, well, here's the deal. So the first thing is, before this monster demo that they had a 7-minute trailer called the briefing trailer. And it's basically Sam and the Bionic Lady and Dead Man, and they're all like in the White House, and they're kind of just laying out like what the game is kind of going to be about. Like,
and the Black Mask from Batman is in there?
Yeah, that's Dead Man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No. Die Hard Man.
Oh,
Die Hard Man is his name, because there's Heartman and Die Hard Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, it seems like the idea, when we've seen the trailers and we've seen Sam walking around, it seems like a lot of this game is going to be about walking around, but it's not going to be like a walking simulator. It's going to be more like a survival game where you're walking around. Like, to me, it actually seems a lot more like Breath of the Wild than it would like. I feel like when people talk about walking simulators, they talk about stuff like Dear Esther or Gone Home, right? Where you're just kind of routed. Like, but there's definitely stuff to do. I mean, we've even seen it in the previous trailers. If you want to get up on top of a thing, you're going to need a big ladder. Or
And I've seen combat and stuff like that.
Yeah. So it seems like it's going to be kind of like, how Metal Gear Solid. Well, I don't know if did you play Metal Gear Solid 5?
No, but
MGS5 basically was like this big open world map, but then it was cut up. Like, there were areas on it, but then each mission was like a discrete. Like, start here, you're going here, you're supposed to do this, and then you exfiltrate. This seems like they've taken the world of Metal Gear Solid 5 and then created a storyline where you just start at one end of a gigantic map, and your goal is to kind of walk all the way to the other side doing stuff in between, which I think is great, because the main problem with Metal Gear Solid 5 was the traversal, was the when you were running from place to place, that there wasn't anything to do. And now, as we've seen in previous trailers and in this stage show demo, it seems like there's managing your weight, your stamina, your boots, your pee, keeping the bridge baby happy, and then meanwhile stopping off and doing little side quests. We saw the Jeff Keighley thing, right, where he drops in and talks to Jeff Keighley. The big thing that I saw in the stage show that I watched is that it's also got a Dark Souls online. Like, if you put down a bridge over a river and you don't pick it back up, then other people will see it in their game and they can walk across it instead of having to exert their own bridge. And they can give you thumbs up and likes and stuff like in Dark Souls. But I think the difference is that those thumbs up are then going to go into your research equipment. Like, they're going to be a resource that you want, so that you can get, so that unlike, in Dark Souls, like if people thumbs up your message, sometimes you'll get like an Estus refill, but it's not really a huge gameplay component. It's more about making jokes about big chest ahead. Everybody puts down big chest ahead before you go talk to Guinevere. But this seems like
I get it.
This seems like people are gamifying it. Like, there was a point in the demo where somebody left the motorcycle we saw, where somebody left one of those just sitting out, and then the person playing the demo was able to jump on it and give that person a big thumbs up. In fact, it seems like you can even get likes. Likes seem to be a big thing in here. There's a sequence where
comment, subscribe.
Right, yeah, just like you should be doing with this podcast. But there was a whole sequence where Sam got a harmonica and was playing it to the Bridge Baby, and then on the side you saw one like from Bridge Baby, one like from Bridge Baby. Like, your Bridge Baby was giving you thumbs up on Facebook. So it seems like this is the kind of thing that I love about fucking Kojima, is that he's taken this idea from the Dark Souls thing, but he's like, but what if all that social stuff helped you?
Yeah,
and so
meant something.
You had a real big reason to help people. Like, there's actually a point later on in the demo where there's a full-on bridge over a river that seems like, I don't know, as you go on, that you may be able to really get bigger construction projects going. And then that bridge had 400 some odd likes on it, so that it was maybe a big way to, you're helping other people, and then you're also getting resources back from that. And this is speculation. Some of it's based on the 50-minute demo was not subtitled. It was completely in Japanese.
Yeah.
There was nothing. Most of the text was in Japanese, but it seems like, there's definitely combat. So anybody that thinks there's not combat in the game, there's definitely combat portions. We already saw some, but there was a whole point of going into a base And the way that he got out of it at the end was he got the power legs and then had enough battery to be able to use them to kind of super jump over a crevice like in the Matrix. And so the guys couldn't follow him there. But there appears to be stealth and then there was a portion of it that was all in the netherworld or whatever it is, the goopy dark world.
The other side.
And that was like a boss fight with what looked like a Bloodborne boss almost. And it was just like, and then I started slowing down and looking at little individual details about this stuff. But there was like during the boss fight, another social things was Sam calling for help and then having ghosts of other players come up and like throw him things to use in that fight. And so it was like, so maybe there's not a summoning mechanic, but maybe there is a like, you can create like I'm going to help people with this boss fight, so that it's like not exactly Dark Souls, but it's also So that makes me wonder, because of Metal Gear Solid 5 had the whole forward operating base thing and the invasions, right, that you could do, about whether there's also going to be an adversarial component of having other people either come into your game to try to stop you or fuck with like
your
set
bridge,
traps,
like, or go to your bridge and then blow it up.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, like, a lot of that's there. It seemed though that a lot of it was about moving from one place to another, and that they gamified the walking around. Like there's like keeping your balance, because in the demo he's got a shitload of stuff, and then like coming across at one point he gets a little skiff that you could put all your luggage on because you're trying to just pull it behind you. At one point he takes everything off of the little floating skiff and then jumps on it like a skateboard and rides it down into a place, and I'm like, all right, this is what I like about Kojima, is like, this seems like an open world game that's like got more interaction with the environment than something like Red Dead or like a Ubisoft game, right?
Yeah.
And it seems more like Breath of the Wild in that respect than those games. It seems like it's got Dark Souls social components to it. It seems like it's a bespoke world, so that it's not, it couldn't be procedurally generated, because then your world and my river and your river wouldn't be in the same place to line up. So I like that idea. I like the idea of having a big open world game, but then doing different stuff with the open world that we haven't seen before. So yeah, that was the first of three 50-minute demos. And I don't know. I mean, like, I think it looks really, it looks so Kojima, right?
Yeah.
It looks so Kojima. We didn't see any like actual gunplay. At one point Sam had like a bolo launcher. But I'm starting to wonder too, because there's a whole living and dead thing. If it's like Metal Gear Solid 3, where if you kill a bunch of people, then if you get dragged into the dead world, then they all come after you in the dead world or something like that. I'm like, that could be cool.
Maybe.
I don't know. In any case, I think it looks really fascinating. I think it's interesting though that they've devoted, almost 3 hours of demo footage. Like, I was thinking about this the other day about like, I'm going to watch all this stuff, but would I rather be where John is, where I'm just like, I think I'd actually like to have just seen the weirdness and then be like, all right, now just give me the game and don't tell me anything else. I don't want to know anything else.
Yeah, it's like like I said, I watched like the last trailer that came out, and also the thing with Jeff Keighley.
Yeah,
and I was just like, okay, I've seen enough of this that I don't want to know more.
Right.
Not that anything else that they release will tell me more. Right. In actuality.
Yeah.
I mean, because in all honesty, every time they've released a trailer, I've been either just as confused as I previously was, or I'm more confused.
Yeah.
So that trend could continue, but I'm at a point where I'm like, you know what? We're close enough.
Well, plus there's a difference between Hideo Kojima wants to make a Twin Peaks gameplay trailer and like, we're going to watch somebody play this game for an hour, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a real difference. Yeah. But see, then the other thing that keeps occurring to me, John, is that I remember I'm a Kojima veteran over here. I'm a 10-year vet. I remember that like when they showed off Metal Gear Solid 4, they only showed off the Middle Eastern level, and there were 4 other biomes that you went through there. When they showed off Metal Gear Solid 5, they only showed a little bit of Afghanistan, and that map was huge and had like different terrain features, and there was a second whole map in Africa that was completely different biome.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, like, I honestly think that what we're seeing out of these demos and out of these trailers is going to be like in the first quarter of the game only.
That's possible.
And who the fuck knows like where it could go from there. Besides, all we've seen as far as biomes go is just like that kind of like scrubland with the rivers and the rocks and stuff.
When it's raining and not raining.
Right.
And...
But I mean, like, there could be forests.
Yeah.
There could be like tundra. We could have swamps. Like, there could be all kinds of stuff. And then as you move up, like, if it's anything, the last 3 games that Kojima's put out have had a weird tech tree where it's like you're going to get resources for making a delivery and then funnel that into researching level 2 boots so that you can walk further.
I have a crazy, wild theory.
Do it!
There's going to be a section of the game that's on the moon.
On the moon?
Yeah. I have a reason for that theory.
Okay.
Is because all of the promotional stuff with Luden or whatever the hell the mascot is.
Right.
There was one of it on the moon. And that same one, if I remember correctly, also when they showed the face inside, it wasn't a skull. It was actually Norman Reedus, and made people think that Luden is actually not just a mascot, but is also Norman Reedus' character.
Could be.
And I'm like, bet you we go to the moon at some point.
They keep showing that stuff. I mean, like the fox symbol that they always used was Foxhound symbol. I don't know. I mean, they've obviously really loved that freaking weird astronaut Roman suit thing that they've got. Yeah, it wouldn't either that or like, I don't know. The thing is that Metal Gear, yeah. Metal Gear games are so different when you get to the end of them than they are at the beginning of them. Like just the equipment and the stuff.
This is also not a Metal Gear game. It's a Kojima game, yes,
right.
But it's not a Metal Gear game.
Right, but I guess it's just I keep thinking that I feel like the entire internet is judging this game based on this like teeny tiny little sliver that they've seen, and I don't know.
Though having said that, you buy it and it says Death Stranding, and then like you play through it, and then it says Metal Gear Solid 6 Death Stranding.
Yeah, I do know that Norman Reedus makes a much better Solid Snake than Kiefer Sutherland ever did.
Yeah.
So, in any case, yeah. So, I think that next week, after all this has come up, Michael and I will probably sit down and either on the podcast or just on an hour and 30-minute long video to post, just nerd out about this shit and go nuts. But I can definitely say that I'm intrigued. I did that thing I've talked about before, John, where like I always try to temper my expectations by kind of just saying, oh, that new Kojima game looks great. Too bad it's never coming out. And now it's like, fuck, dude, it's like 40 days until it comes out.
Yeah,
like 45 days.
A little over a month.
Yeah. So I can't wait. You could be sure that while if it's super good, there may be a sequential for it someday in the future, but I am not doing it like Control because I'm already jonesing. Like, just
I know, I'm aware.
Hey, Amanda, can we just play Control?
Here's the thing. I've been at home playing Control, and Amanda's like, yeah, I have to leave the room.
Ah!
And I'm like, what? And she's like, I have to leave the room because you're seeing stuff that I would rather keep my reactions to be as first seen as possible when I play them with Jeff, and I need to leave the room. I'm like, all right, cool.
I feel like at some point, like if we were just in the middle of like some kind of vacation month or something, that Amanda and I would just have like, like 14 episodes just banked because it's like, I just want to play this video game. Like, I don't even give a fuck about recording it for the show. Like, it's been really close. It's just, it's good that, there's been so many other things to play. Like I beat, farts Blair Witch, and also
I thought you couldn't beat Blair Witch because of a glitch.
I did. I got all the way to the end, and then I just watched the end on YouTube because the game screwed up on me. And then what was the other one? Oh, River City Girls. That was like 8 hours long. So anyway, back to TGS. So yeah, I'm sure that by the end of the week there's going to be plenty of new information for anybody interested in Death Stranding. But, as excited as I am for Death Stranding, other people are just as excited for Final Fantasy VII, John. The Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
And we got
I hear people are excited about it.
Brand new trailer.
And it looks good. I mean, looks like a good game.
Yeah. I mean, we got to see some new stuff. We got to see the Turks.
Yeah.
We got to see Ifrit and Shiva. We got to see Don Corneo, which is the part where you got to go undercover at the brothel. I mean, I guess I never. There's no part of me that would have expected like the first trailers to look good, and then this one to be like, oh man, it really took a graphical down hit in this third trailer. Like all the faces and the design and stuff all look really good. I'm kind of torn because I kind of went back and looked at some old Final Fantasy VII, and I'm like, I mean, I did forget a lot about Final Fantasy VII, so maybe, but I also still remember you and I, talking about this isn't the whole game, right?
No, it's just the Midgar section.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, this is only the beginning. Like this shit's going to stretch out for half of a decade. We're going to be playing Final Fantasy VII again.
And it's funny because I can't remember because I've read some stuff that said the game is only going to be 2 parts, and I've heard some things said that they're splitting up into 3 parts. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But I mean, the game is like 2 full discs. Like it's going to be 2 discs. Yeah, this part. It's going to be a pretty long game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I would assume so. There's plenty to do in Midgar before you take off. But then I mean, like, there's also Midgar was like the first disc, right, of like the original PlayStation.
Yeah.
It was like 3 discs, and that was the first disc was kind of getting out of Midgar. I don't know. I mean, everything that I see here looks good. I can't say. Oh my God, President Shinra! Wow. Cloud, I do like when Cloud gets turned into a frog, how he has a tiny little Buster Sword on his back. I appreciate that. And then I like the design of the summons. I kind of wish that they would do a 50-minute gameplay demo for this more than Death Stranding, because this trailer is just like 2 minutes of flashing lights and colors and look at that person, look at that person. Look, here's an explosion. Here's Avalanche. Here's the Turks. Here's President Shinra.
Yeah, and I'll say exactly what I said the last time, or at least I'm pretty sure I said it the last time. I think it looks great. I think the game's going to be good.
Yeah.
I'm not excited. I can't get excited because while I like Final Fantasy VII, I don't have the love and reverie for it that others do.
I think a lot of people, that was like one of their first big high tier moments in gaming.
Yeah,
whereas
and I get that.
I had played Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 3 on the Super Nintendo,
Yeah, and I don't begrudge people who are excited about this. I do want to state that.
Right.
If you're excited for this game, fucking more power to you.
Yeah.
I think this looks good. Like, I do not hate what I'm seeing. But I can't, I don't know. To me, Final Fantasy VII, while I liked it, I feel like it was the most overhyped game in existence.
Right.
And I'm happy that people are getting their remake that they demanded for so long. Me personally, I'm just kind of like, yeah, but I played this already.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I lived through Final Fantasy VII. I lived through Dirge of Cerberus and Advent Children and Crisis Core and all of them. So yeah, I get it. As I've stated before, I personally want to see 16. Because the last time we had a new Final Fantasy universe was 13 that wasn't an MMO, and then I didn't like 15 very much. So it was like, 13, 14 was a bust, 15 was a bust, and now we've got 7. We had Kingdom Hearts, and I'm just waiting forever.
And I had someone, and I thought it was funny, someone was like, well, you're always talking about how, I do buy, sometimes I do buy like re-releases of games.
Sure.
And they're like, this is the same thing. I'm like, no, it's not the same thing. Because the different amount of work, well, yes, it's a lot of work still to re-release a game, to remaster it and re-release it.
Sure.
It's not the same thing as completely making a new game with a new engine from scratch, using the same story beats, same everything.
Yeah.
I love Alan Wake. I want them to make an Alan Wake 2. I don't want them to remake Alan Wake from the ground up.
Yeah, I can see that.
I love insert game here. I would like them to make a sequel to that game. I don't want them to re-release that same game but with better graphics.
The only thing that I could, and not to, we'll move on after this, but the only thing that I could think of, I was trying to think of like what game would I be as excited for if they remade an older game from scratch, and the only thing I could think of was the original Metal Gear, because all the Metal Gears have a nice HD release except for one. So like going back in and doing something like Twin Snakes but just like upgrading it, that's great. The problem is that, I mean, we're talking about 80-hour JRPGs here, not like a 12-hour action game. I mean, that's the thing about Alan Wake. You could probably remake Alan Wake from start to finish with the same story with a whole new upgraded graphics engine in a year, and then it would be done, right? It wouldn't be Alan Wake Part 1, and then we got to wait for 2 years for Alan Wake Part 2, and then 2 years for Alan Wake Part 3. So anyway.
And again, I'm not begrudging anyone that is excited. I'm happy for you. I personally, I think this game looks good. I'll probably play it. But I'm not excited for it.
I'm a little more excited, but you really opened my eyes when we were talking about it at E3 about how, like, I mean, even if I buy this and play it, it's part 1, right? Like, there's still 2 more parts before you get the end of the story. So, like, I'm almost inclined just to wait until the complete edition is out.
And also, we know that new consoles are coming. So is part 1 going to be released and then part 2 comes out on a new console?
Yep. Probably. In any case, from there, we got a trailer for Project Resistance.
Hey.
Which is, we got a tease about this last week.
It's like a 4v1 multiplayer.
Yeah, asynchronous multiplayer Resident Evil thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like you have 4 people with equipment, and then you have one person who's acting as like the jigsaw kind of character.
Yeah, he's like activating enemies and like spawning enemies, and then he can
control the enemies too.
He can also take control of Mr. X. I can't think of fucking.
I actually watched some gameplay of this, and apparently you can control like most of the zombies in the game. And there's like turrets, so it's like the one person has a whole kind of like it's almost like Watch Dogs-y camera flipping to go to do stuff, and then you could set up different traps. I gotta say I'm a little disappointed just because Capcom's been on a roll, and I'm just not. Does not seem very interesting.
They've been trying to insert some type of multiplayer, Resident Evil for forever, and it's never been great.
Yeah, I mean, Operation Raccoon City and Umbrella Corps, and what was the PS2 ones that we were that I think everybody was thinking this might have been a sequel to, like Resident Evil. You'd have the hard drive, you played online with other people.
I thought that was Umbrella Corps.
No, Umbrella Corps was the like Counter-Strike with zombies one that came out a little while back. That wasn't Revelations. Anyway, whatever that one was, this seems like more like that than anything else. Which, the thing is that there's nothing wrong with this game. It's just that RE7 was great and RE2 Remake was fucking great. And like, this is just like, God, are you trying to do this again? Like, the Resident Evil audience has demonstrated that all they really want is more like single player mainline Resident Evil games. And you try this again, you've already failed twice at this concept, or 3 times, depending on if you count that PS2 thing. I don't know. I never knew anybody with a hard drive on a PS2. So
I had one. I have a hard drive on my PS2, but I don't really use it for anything.
But it's a nice looking trailer. It's a bunch of people blasting on liquors, to shoot stuff, and then Mr. X comes out, and I don't know. I thought the next thing we were going to see was going to be 3 remake after people were up on that, or 8. Right. Yeah. I guess this is probably just a placeholder in between those things.
Yeah, while they're working on whatever the next thing is.
Yeah. Just, I don't know. I was so back into Resident Evil, and just this is kind of like, meh.
It's like, and I'm out.
Yep. And not really interested. I mean, also, it's obvious that they're using just assets from 7 and 2 with a little bit of new stuff added into it. Yeah. Probably some Devil May Cry added in there, too, because it's all the same engine. Let's see. The trailer train moves on. We got a Neo 2 trailer. I'm not a big fan of Neo.
It's funny because when you said this originally, we were talking about what we're going to talk about, and you actually point, we're going to talk about Neo 2, and I'm like, Neo 2? What the fuck is Neo 2?
Right.
And you were like, Neo 2, the sequel to Neo, and I'm like, I don't know what game that is. And then you like explain. I was like, oh right, it's the
Ninja Dark Souls.
Yeah, it's the Team Ninja Dark Souls wannabe game. Yeah, okay.
Yep. This looks good, just like the first one did. Like, I love the boss design and the Oni design and all the weapons and the cool shit that's in there.
It seems interesting.
The thing that bothers me about it is that, Neo 1 was very repetitive. Like, they wanted you to kind of grind in areas, and I don't know, like, some of the mechanics of it were just, they seemed like real time-sinky. But I don't know. Maybe they improved it. Maybe it's better this time. Also, there's a cat lady with big boobs that has wheels, and I don't know what that is. It's some kind of boss encounter with big boob cat lady with wheels and fire. So yeah, I mean, if it's just more Neo, probably wouldn't be that interested in it. But if it's, if they kind of work on refining it a little bit. Let me put it this way. Original Neo was a little bit too Ninja Gaiden and not enough Dark Souls for my taste. So I got a little frustrated with it. And I don't know. I'd be interested if they make some improvements.
Yeah, I mean, I thought there was definitely some cool stuff with the original Neo. It's just I kind of forgot about it very quickly, apparently.
Yeah, kind of slid off your brain.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Also, I don't know. It was one of those things that adhered to. I'm getting less and less interested in and it's super hard, and I'm like, I don't care anymore. Like I don't want this has become a trend that I'm not really a big fan of. But anyway, who knows? I know they had a technical demo out a few weeks back. But if they do another one, maybe I'll check it out. Anyway, from there we got a trailer for the Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind trailer. All of you Kingdom Hearts fans can skip forward 2 minutes. This no Disney in here. This is all just the Organization 13 black robes. What happened to Sora? Where is Carrie? My heart has broken. Even the environments in the trailer look boring. There's these big arenas with rock walls and stuff. I couldn't Kingdom Hearts. I don't Kingdom Hearts.
I don't Kingdom Hearts either.
And this just looks like a lot more of the thing that I'm not a big fan of in the Kingdom Hearts franchise. So, for the people that like Kingdom Hearts, great. You get more Kingdom Hearts.
Here's your DLC.
Yep. I personally will be skipping. Well, I didn't even beat the game, so who cares? Let's see. From there, we got a trailer for Gungrave Gore. Gungrave G.O.R.E. This was mostly cinematic. I mean, there's a little bit of gameplay at the end, but mostly cinematic. John, I think you know more about Gungrave than I do.
I mean, I played the very, 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 very first one.
Uh-huh. Did you watch the anime as well?
There was an anime. I watched a little bit of it, but not a lot of it.
Okay. Do you know what's going on in this trailer at all?
I mean, sort of. So I know the main character technically is dead.
Right.
But to keep himself alive, he has to get blood transfusions regularly.
Okay.
Now that wasn't a game mechanic. That was just a story thing.
Okay. What about all the rest of this? Girl with crystal hand.
Yeah.
Guys are breaking in.
So the funny thing about the very first Gungrave, is there's very little story in it.
Okay.
It's literally you're this guy who's going around killing the mob. There's some backstory that you might have been that they killed you and you're coming back for revenge.
Okay.
There's very little story to it. The whole big thing was it was designed by, if I remember correctly, the guy who did Trigun, the character design.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
But there was very little story to it. There wasn't even an anime. There wasn't a manga. It was literally just for this game.
Right.
It did really well. So they decided to do a sequel or whatever or an anime and then started adding story to it.
Okay.
And the anime is nothing like that first game.
Right.
Because apparently the anime is a prequel to the games.
Okay.
But it's just what I know as Gungrave apparently isn't what it ended up being because the first game is so tangentially connected to the rest of it because it's they came up with designs and then
they came with designs and made an action game and then they suddenly expanded the story to the point where the first game made a lot less sense.
Well, it's not that it made less sense. It's just it's
less connected.
It's less important. It's less because what people ended up gravitating towards and finding with the anime and the other games is not in that first game.
Okay.
Because the first game is literally just a revenge story. That's literally it, is that these people killed you, you've come back from the dead, and you're hunting them down.
So you don't know who any of the antagonists in this are?
No.
Because there's a girl with the crystal arm, and she's watching the main guy. What's his name?
Oh, I forget.
Oh, okay. Gun or Grave. Watching Grave get blood put into him, and then they break in. She kicks some of their asses, but then one guy's too powerful, and then then Grave is punching him, and there's something about his red eyes, and I don't understand anything that's going on here. And then at the end, we get a gameplay montage that looks like exactly what I remember from Gungrave, but better looking.
Yeah.
Where it's just a lot of kind of posing and shooting. It kind of reminds me of Vanquish or what was that?
Yeah.
Piano 3 game type of thing. Looks good. I mean, nothing I see here.
The very first Gungrave game is very much style over substance.
Yeah.
In that there is no substance, it's all style.
Okay.
And then later games, like I said, started to try to add substance. So I don't know. I also, it's been so long since I've played that game that I could be even remembering shit wrong.
Sounds like somebody needs to go get a copy of Gungrave VR and brush up on their Gungrave. You're going to be the official Gungrave man of Rage Select,
sure.
John.
All right.
You can know everything about Gungrave.
When the game comes out and you have me on to play it for a dojo, I will have brushed up on my Gungrave by then.
Okay. I don't know. It looks good. It's also kind of incomprehensible. It's like watching the trailer for a JRPG and you're just like, oh, this looks pretty, but I don't have any idea who these people are, why they're doing anything they're doing, or what the fuck is going on. So
yeah. Well, it's also like, okay, you're going to play the sequel to Persona 5, except it's the same characters.
Right.
But there were 3 other games in between this one. You don't know any of that stuff.
Right.
There was also an anime that also added extra stuff. You haven't seen that either. And now here's the trailer for it.
So Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Is what you're describing. And
actually, that's even better. It's like you're watching a trailer for Kingdom Hearts. It makes about as much sense.
Okay. Apparently, there's a new Castlevania game, Grimoire of Souls. We're taking to Castlevania, all your favorite Castlevania characters from all your favorite Castlevania games, and they're all going to be in the same Castlevania game. All right, finally, Konami has come to their senses. Oh, wait, it's a phone game.
Yeah.
And it kind of looks like garbage.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be full of microtransactions.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I also vaguely remember the announcement about this like a while back. So
it just looks...
This is, I think, the first time they've shown footage of it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I was saying to you before, like it doesn't even seem to have a good amount of detail in the characters or the environments. It just seems very bland. Yeah. So anyway, less said about that, the better. From there, John, let's talk about Borderlands.
All right, Borderlands.
So we got a Borderlands 3 launch trailer. By the time this is out, we'll have already recorded for it. We'll already be playing it.
Well, Jeff will already have recorded for it and already be playing it.
That's true. It looks. I mean, it looks like a lot. It looks like more Borderlands.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's going to be how well the story comes across to me, because the thing is that just the desire for more gun loot is not enough to make me play a game. But if I get invested in the weird Twitch streamer enemy, that's also, John, why we stopped streaming on Twitch. So I didn't want to end up like this lady from Borderlands. I mean, like, this is a real problem with the 30 people who are watching me every week. But that's not the real story. The real story is that apparently, in addition to all the other weird, wacky, stupid bullshit that the Epic Game Store has done, did you hear about the way that people got review copies?
Yeah, it was weird.
So I just don't think the Epic Game Store has like a Steam code or preview functionality. So instead, they sent reviewers logins to an account.
And only some reviewers.
Only some. Oh, yeah. Very limited number.
For example, Kotaku, if I remember correctly, got told no.
Right. Even though apparently, like, Twitch influencers have it, like, had it like a few days early.
Yeah.
So, like, but then the weird thing about this is that the login was to like the non-release build. Like it was
like a beta build.
Right. And so they were told, like, don't use DirectX 12 and like that these things are fixed in the full version. And it's like, this is not how we do evaluations of video game industry.
Yeah.
Like, you give somebody the retail copy or the pre-retail copy, and then, I mean, like, we used to do what they used to have the what do they call it, the consoles, like the developer consoles that then
dev kits.
It's like, yeah, people would, like, it used to be that you needed a dev kit to play a pre-release copy that they would send you the non-retail copy, but nowadays that shit's covered, and like, you just send a Steam code or a PlayStation code or whatever. This is weird, and I feel like it's just because of the Epic Game Store, and also I guess maybe
and all the review copies were PC only.
Yes,
like apparently there were some I can't remember where I read this, but like one website was sent and they're like, hey, we don't want to review this on PC, we want to review it on console, and they went, well, then you don't get it until release date.
Right. Which,
and if I remember correctly, the exact words were, then you can buy it on release date.
I feel, I think that I'm going to end up playing Borderlands, and I think I'm going to be like, hey, this game is all right. And it's so weird that the whole saga of Borderlands has been, it seems like an all right game, but that like high-level, upper-tier decisions keep fucking shit up for it, right?
Yeah.
Like this, or sending PIs to a guy's house because he talked about
or just Randy Pitchford's existence.
Or just Randy Pitchford's a person. Yeah, exactly. So, like, Jesus, Borderlands, get your shit together. I mean, I didn't hear about this. The other weird thing, though, about this is, did this happen with Control?
No,
because I don't think it did.
No, it didn't.
Is it just like is this?
No. The websites that have been talking about this have pointed out that it can't be an Epic Store thing because other games have been given. They've been given review copies.
Oh,
and it's not been like this.
Okay, so it's just some.
It's just
some dumb Gearbox horse shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Good job, Gearbox. You did it. You made reviews worthless because they're of a build of the game that's not even the retail version. One might argue that because of day one patches, maybe all reviews are invalid, but I think this is an especially kind of weird situation.
It is. The whole thing's weird.
Also, I mean, from what I've seen, it's got like an 85 or something on Metacritic. I mean, like, it seems like it's reviewing pretty well. So, like, why would you... It's like one of those Shadow of War things where they get real weird about it, but then it's like, but it's fine. If you just given us this game, we would have been like, this game is fine. It's good. You should go buy it. But you got to do all these weird hoops. So, from there, the UK is starting to get a little bit tougher on loot boxes.
Yeah.
We got a story today about how, we had the famous testimony about surprise mechanics a while back.
Yes.
And that's kind of resulted in a report to the Digital Culture, Media, and Sport Committee, but basically just says, like, yeah, kids probably shouldn't be exposed to this. And basically the recommendation was for their PEGI rating to take apparently the PEGI rating was not considering the existence of microtransactions to be equal to gambling. And the recommendation of this is for them to basically, like, make any game that has a microtransaction have the same PEGI rating as like a slot machine game or like a poker game or something like that, which would be bad news for the companies like EA who kind of want young children and people.
Or, NBA 2K20.
Or NBA 2K. Oh, NBA 2K is coming up. Don't you worry. We got NBA 2K news and it's delicious. It's delicious. But in any case, I feel like they've been pushing the edges of it, and the one thing is that the UK, or like Europe, doesn't tend to fuck around as much as the United States. No. Like Europe has less of a just like, yeah, corporations, what are you going to do? They're just going to do whatever they want to. Whereas Europe will just be like, no, you can't do that. You have to stop that. This is illegal in this country. We're a sovereign nation, and you can't just keep doing it. Which a lot of times EA just gives the middle finger to, which they kind of gave a polite middle finger to this. Because they released a statement that said, we have an ongoing commitment to player safety and well-being whenever they are playing our games or engaging in our communities. We will continue to look at how we can contribute to productive research and solutions for the topics raised in this report. And we look forward to continuing our ongoing dialogue with the UK government. Which is just a polite way of saying piss off, that we just want to do the thing. I don't know, John, what do you think? Are we going to do... here? I don't want to ask a 5 years from now, will there be loot boxes? Because there probably will be.
Or they'll just be something else.
Do you think that we will, that Josh Hawley bill, or like, do you think that in the United States, we will see politicians try to push through an actual government regulation on microtransactions?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because,
I don't know. They're hitting Big Vape. They hit Big Vape this week, so maybe. I mean, it depends, I guess, on people like Josh Hawley, and because I don't feel like it's like Republicans hate microtransactions and Democrats are like, do whatever you want to. I feel like everybody kind of hates microtransactions.
Yeah, no, I don't think the reason I don't think they'll do anything about microtransactions because that's not what they care about. They just want to be like, well, video games cause violence, so let's just put harder restrictions on video games. Who cares about the loot boxes?
Yeah, maybe. In any case, it kind of, it doesn't suck, but like, I think the video game industry needs to like kind of be a little bit more savvy about this because we've gotten to the point where, like, you know, government bodies are making rulings about where you can put this stuff, and that's kind of what you don't want to happen. You kind of want to ease off NBA 2K20 and not just like make your thing into a slot machine full of colors for babies. Anyway, I said we were getting NBA 2K20. We're getting NBA 2K20. Or not NBA 2K20, but the NBA 2K League has banned one of their players. This is Basil Rose, also known as 24K Drop-Off, and he plays for Heat Check Gaming. This is the weirdest sentence I've ever read, or I just don't keep up with this shit. He plays for Heat Check Gaming, the esports franchise of the NBA's Miami Heat team. So the Miami Heat team has like a spin-off esports NBA 2K franchise with esports players on it. And one of them was caught passing information about how a game was going to turn out and then like throwing a game. And so he was kicked out because everybody knows that gambling's not allowed in the NBA 2K universe. Leagueverse, John.
Anyways, play this slot machine with loot boxes.
Yeah, here's a pachinko game. Fuck you, NBA. Also, NBA 2K is getting like, apparently they just had just like really shitty opening week because their servers were all fucked up and like people couldn't get online. Yeah. And if somebody dropped in the middle of like an online match, then you got none of the microtransaction juices or you didn't get the experience points for finishing the match and stuff like that. Stuff that just feels like should be known at this point.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's go from that particular controversy and the controversy of loot boxes to the most important controversy of this week, John.
Oh.
John, the gaming world has been rocked to its very foundation because the PlayStation UK Twitter account said that the 4 buttons on a PlayStation controller are triangle, circle, square, and cross.
Yeah, no, I knew that.
Apparently not a lot of people knew this.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the X button for anyone. But, yeah, Japan has always called it a cross button. That's actually why it's not called, you know, I'm trying to think of a game that's used the title, but like, you know, when they do the Nintendo does it's Smash Brothers X.
Oh, and it's like Street Fighter Cross Tekken because
Street Fighter
Cross
because it's not called Street Fighter times Tekken, or it's called Cross because in Japan that's what that logo means.
Yeah.
It means cross.
Apparently this was like a thing though that people were just like, "Oh, you motherfucker, this is the worst thing to happen since GIF." And I'm just like, well,
I mean, they've called it that, but the thing is that Japan's called it that since like PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
But it's just we don't care.
Yeah.
No one cared.
Also, I mean, it's also worth mentioning that the in Japan, circle is confirm and X is go backwards.
Yeah.
Like it's reversed of the way that it is here.
Yeah.
In any case. But I also like the fact that Xbox put out a tweet and they said, no matter what you call it, one thing that unites us all is the X button, throwing a little shade. And they had pictures of a Switch controller, a PlayStation controller, an Xbox controller, and an X button on a keyboard. It's like, that's the one thing we all got in common as gamers is X, not cross. But this is the amount of shade I want to see in the video game industry these days. Anyway, moving on. Apple Mac thing was this week.
Yeah, they had a big thing that I didn't watch.
Yep, me neither. And apparently they talked about the Apple Arcade. Did we talk about that when they did the big presentation?
A little bit.
It's coming out $5 a month. It's coming out in
like next week,
September 30th. Yeah, no, September 19th. For iOS 13 and then iPad OS and tvOS on the 30th and Mac OS Catalina in October. It's going to be $5 a month. It's going to get you a bunch of stuff. I mean, the game lineup they have seems like it's better than some of these other things. The problem that I have is I just don't have an iPod or I don't have an iPhone. I don't have a Mac. I don't have any of that stuff. So
I have a Mac. I have an iPad. I will not be signing up for the service.
No?
No.
You even play iPad games, right?
Yeah, regularly.
Is that one?
Less so recently, but I did see that Devolver has a game that's going to be part of the service.
Oh, yeah?
Called Return to the Gungeon.
Oh, no, Exit the Gungeon.
Oh, Exit the Gungeon, yeah.
Yeah. Which is unfortunately a little marred by the fact that apparently, like, the guy that runs Nicalis that did the localization for Enter the Gungeon is like a shithead.
Yeah,
there's a whole thing.
But yeah, apparently it's like it's not even like a Enter the Gungeon style game. It's a completely different style of game. Like it's side scrolly almost.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I never really got all the way into Enter the Gungeon.
It also kind of, from screenshots I've seen, I haven't watched a trailer, but from a screenshot I saw, it also looked more like a Smash Brothers style game with Gungeon characters.
Okay. Oh, I mean, I liked Enter the Gungeon, all right. So yeah, I mean, if you got a Mac, maybe try it out. Let us know. Speaking of online places where you can get games, Steam is making a change to their service.
My God.
Yes. Let's talk about Steam for a little while.
Steam did something.
Yep. Apparently, there's this weird meandering saga about, like, for a few months ago, there was a problem with the recommended games list. Basically, at the end of the day, Steam is changing. You know, when you buy a game and there's a recommended games, or you look at game pages recommended games, Steam found out that basically because of the way their algorithm was set up, they were just recommending the same games all the time, like with no.
That's actually something people have complained about for a long time.
Yep. So they're actually rolling out a beta to try to recommend more things based on your library, the tags, and not just like kind of, if you like that, you might want to play Half-Life 2, buddy, or whatever, or just bigger games, right? Which is good, which is fine. I don't really trust Steam to recommend shit to me because of their store is so goddamn choked to death.
Also, the stuff that you buy just for the site alone is so scattershot that I don't think they can actually conceivably recommend something that that actually would do anything for you.
Yep. I don't think so either. So that happened. Also, though, there was an interesting Steam story last week where there was a guy, Mike Rose, who was director at indie publisher No More Robots, who went online and did this kind of real deep dive. You can go look at his math in it for like how Steam indie games have been selling, and apparently found that the sales of indie games on Steam are down 70% from where they were last year.
Wow.
So we're talking about stuff that's like not AAA, and he did a pretty decent job of going in and basically cutting out anything that would mess with the data. But yeah, basically it seems like it's not a good time to be an indie dev on Steam. Like
now it's all on the Switch.
Well, or the Epic Game Store. Like, it makes the Epic Game Store seem like a much better thing. This is kind of the thing that I keep railing about, where I'm like, look, the Epic Game Store kind of seems like garbage, but when you spend your time and effort making an indie game and you put it on Steam and it just gets buried by garbage, well, that's not cool. Like, you don't want to do that. So I don't know. Maybe their little recommendation feature will help more indie games get a little bit of more time in the spotlight. Speaking of the Epic Game Store, there was a really embarrassing rap battle on Twitter between Tim Sweeney and some guy who came at him to rap battle him.
Okay.
About how bad the Epic Game Store is. But Tim Sweeney's not a very good rap battler. So you can go read him battle with rhymes. It's not great.
They're cold. They're cold rhymes.
They're kind of cold. They're kind of cool.
They're lukewarm.
Yep. But if you do have the Epic Game Store, you might be playing Control. That's right. And Alan Wake fans are at Twitter this week with the announcement of Control's expansion roadmap.
I will say there's one thing that they said was going to, I think it's going to be a free update that actually, when I saw it, I didn't care about the rest of it. I just saw it and I was like, well.
Photo mode?
Yes.
Photo mode.
I'm so down for a photo mode.
You guys know that John's way into photo mode, right?
I am so excited for a photo mode because you do not know how much I've been wanting to take pictures of stuff in Control, but can't get rid of the UI.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So, yeah, there's going to be a photo mode. That's in the fall. December is going to have a new game mode called Expeditions. We're not really entirely sure about. Early 2020 is going to be the first expansion.
Which is the Foundation, which is going to go into the history of the
Bureau of Control of the Oldest House.
The Oldest House, yeah.
And then Expedition 2 is just called AWE.
Which, for the game, for people who played the game, AWE stands for Altered World Events.
Right.
But the thing that is people have noticed is that the picture they use, it's split in two, and the bottom half is like this red, almost Control-looking thing.
Right.
And then the top half looks like a foggy mist with a flashlight, which is
Yeah.
very reminiscent of the Alan Wake logo.
Right. And also it's AWE, which is probably a little, that's probably stretching it a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a good possibility. But we actually know that Alan Wake is part of the Control universe.
Oh, yeah, no, I've already caught all the Alan Wake stuff that's in the Control game. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so there is a good possibility that we'll be seeing some Alan Wake in Control, which would be pretty cool. Yeah. From there, let's talk about the other trailers this week. We got a 7-minute trailer for the new that big weird fitness
Ring
thing.
Fit Adventures.
Yes. Which is like a weird exercise RPG that's coming out on the Switch.
Yeah, so basically you buy it and it has like this leg holster thing that you put a controller in
Yep.
that you strap to one of your legs, and then it has this ring thing that you put the other controller in.
Right.
And the ring, is like used for like balancing and like for pushing it and
bends.
bending.
Yeah.
But for exercising and stuff like that. And
so it's like you kind of wandering around like on a track on an overworld where you have to literally jog in place to move forward. And then at certain points you'll have challenges. And then there's also just like straight up kind of JRPG battles.
yeah, like you have a bunch of enemies in front of you, and to do an attack, you have to do like an exercise movement, and you have to do it perfectly. The better you do the movement, the more powerful your attack is. And certain exercise movements do different types of damage to different characters.
Yep.
So one enemy type may do a lot of damage if you're doing the thing where you're holding your arm out and bending over. And
They said it was divided into like yoga moves and like leg moves and then like core moves.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems like We Fit, but like with an actual video game and not just an exercise routine.
So it's like, We Fit, Jeff's problem, we talked about this a little bit before, was that when We Fit kind of came out, it was more of a fitness game, and then they kind of gamified it as time went on.
Yep.
Whereas this, they kind of came out of the gate with a game. Like they're like, no, it's a game, but it's also a fitness thing. But there's a game. There's a full-fledged game here.
Yeah. And it looks like not a bad game. I mean, like, maybe not the best game, but just some incentive to gamify exercise. So hopefully when this comes out, we'll be able to do a dojo and you guys will be able to see how out of shape I really am. One of the things I actually really appreciated was apparently there's like a mode, like if you live in an apartment, that makes it so you don't stomp, so that you can do all the stuff with your leg movements without lifting your feet up off the ground, so that you're not just like dum, 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 and the people downstairs are like, hey, shut the fuck up there, stop playing Nintendo. But yeah, it's got all the stuff that you would imagine. It's got like adjustments, and you can set it on an easier mode if you're not like a super in shape person. Apparently you can like put your finger up to the little IR sensor and it'll measure your pulse and stuff like that. There's also just like mini games and challenges and stuff. I don't know, seems pretty cool. So yeah, I don't know why they waited a week to tell us, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's October 18th is coming out, so relatively soon.
Yeah,
before the end of the year. Kind of interesting that we didn't know anything about this, and then it was just like, and there it is, and here it is, and it's coming out next month. So
yeah,
I mean, if it's a choice between this and Death Stranding, I know which one I'm getting.
Death Stranding.
Yeah, obviously. We also got a trailer for Indivisible.
Hey,
which John and I played a long time ago.
We played a proof of concept demo.
Yeah, it's like a kind of a. If I'm not mistaken, this is a company that made Skullgirls, and it's kind of like an RPG, but then kind of also a platformer action, kind of Metroidvania, but then with RPG battles and super good animation. Just like
the animation
really
is
good animation,
freaking amazing. It's beautiful.
Yeah, which we played this on the PlayStation a long time ago. And then I just kind of evaporated. Like there weren't any trailers or anything for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the interesting thing is the game that we played, it even said, hey, this is a proof of concept demo. What you're playing now probably won't even be in the game.
Yeah. But now it's coming out October 8th. So pretty soon. Which, if you haven't heard of it, go check it out. Go check out Indivisible.
Looks good.
We also got a release date for Sayonara Wild Hearts, which, if you guys remember, was a rhythm game with this like really unique flair to it, where you're kind of motorcycle
and there's battles,
love, and I think we saw it at E3, right?
Yeah.
At the PC game conference.
I think so. Yeah. I remember talking about it.
Yeah, but
Saying it looked interesting.
This is actually coming out at the end of the week, so September 19th. This will be coming out. It looks really cool. I don't know if it was the sort of thing that I would want to play for a long time, but the music seems really good, and I don't know. I saw some stage demo stuff of it at E3, and it just looks different, right?
Yeah,
Different than
definitely.
I've seen. And then let's see. We also got a pre-alpha trailer for System Shock 3, which we had previously gotten a teaser for. But I think this is really good.
I forgot this was even a thing that was like, I keep forgetting that when they canceled or shelved the remake of System Shock 1,
I think I just started over.
That I for some reason keep in my head thinking that this also got shelved.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think it looks really good. Like this trailer looks like it looks like a spooky System Shock game.
Yeah.
I didn't know this. I was telling you before we started that apparently Warren Spector went to go work with them on this.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm like, that's great. I mean, Warren Spector, Deus Ex, and I mean, not Epic Mickey quite as much, but
I like the first Epic Mickey. Didn't really care for the second one, but the first one I really liked.
Yeah. So I don't know, but it looks really good. It's weird to see Shodan moving around and moving her lips because she was always just a static picture in all of the previous games. But that was pretty good. We also got a trailer for the thing that don't worry, Rage Select is going to play the Colonel Sanders dating game.
I love you, Colonel Sanders, a finger-licking good dating RPG.
Yep, where you play somebody. I think I saw somebody online asking whether it had any relationship to the Hatoful Boyfriend universe.
Yeah, but apparently you can play as one of 8 characters, and you're basically going to the KFC Culinary School of the Arts or whatever.
Right, and
the entire thing is you're trying to date Colonel Sanders.
Yeah.
This is an actual game made by KFC.
Yep.
There's a dog in it. It's a corgi named Professor Dog.
Yep. Bastards.
I've told Jeff that he should talk to his lawyers.
See, the thing is that I would sue them, but then they would just, like, in the settlement, I would just get, free KFC for life. And I'd be like, that's okay. I'm all right. I'm a Popeyes guy. I don't go to KFC.
I kind of want to try their chicken mac bowls or whatever they're called.
Okay.
Where it's macaroni and cheese with the chicken in it, like the chicken, like the little like
KFC.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm still mad at them about that Cheeto sandwich. It was so disappointing. This is the most disappointing motherfucking thing. I don't know. Like I feel like KFC needs to stop trying to be clever and start making their food better. Just like their basic chicken needs to be better.
And apparently this isn't the only game. Like there's going to be more.
I mean, I guess it worked for Burger King? ?
Did you hear that apparently someone said that the guy who was in charge of making those games is trying to get them remastered and re-released?
Great. Because that's what we need in 2019 is Sneak King.
You know what? Sneak King was actually pretty good. The other two were kind of crappy, but...
in any case, have no fear. This comes out on September 24th, and it's free on Steam. Amanda and I will certainly be trying to seduce the Colonel, if for no other reason than to get his delectable 11 herbs and spices and then kick him down the stairs for what he did to Cheetos. Motherfucker. Also, I want that Popeye sandwich. Also, Popeyes is better. Red beans and rice. We also got, this is from TGS as well, but we got a pre-order trailer for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
Yes, this is the biggest thing I think this trailer revealed is that it explained how much of the story from the original Dragon Ball Z cartoon is in this game. Because previously, we had only seen up to the Frieza stuff on Namek.
Right.
And so people were like, well, how much? Like, come on, fuck. Every Dragon Ball Z game is up to the Frieza story on Namek, for the fuck's sake.
Right.
You know, but this showed stuff that's towards the Buu saga, which was I think the last saga for Dragon Ball, the original Dragon Ball Z series.
Those words all mean things.
Nothing to you. If Michael
I
were
actually
here,
kind of know because you explained them to me, but still.
Michael would probably be way more ecstatic and way more knowledgeable about this because of how much he loves Dragon Ball Z.
Sure.
I was a fan that fell off at some point, but...
Wait, I guess I figured it out. It's like how they keep making animes of Berserk and they all stop at the end of the Golden Era.
Yes.
And then they get canceled, and this is like, hey, we finally got past that part you've seen the first part of the story 8 times, and now we're finally going to like keep going instead of just stopping where we always stop. So and it's coming out on January 17th.
Nice.
So we got a release date for that. I don't think we had one before. A full-on release date. Then we got a pair of Yakuza trailers. First, the big news is that Yakuza 7 is coming to the West. It is going to be released sometime in 2020, and it's going to be called Yakuza Like a Dragon, not necessarily Yakuza 7. We got
Touched for the very first time.
We got one trailer from TGS that just showed a lot of gameplay and like insanity. Like you can kart race in this game, and like you can.
I everything I see about this game, I'm like, if anyone's upset about the combat change, that they shouldn't be.
Well, like it definitely seems goofier than some of the other Yakuza games, but like I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
I've had stern-faced Kiryu for 7 fucking games. So
well, it's funny because most of the people who are like hardcore Yakuza fans, that have seen this, they're all like, "No, this looks good. Let's do it."
Right.
But it's like there are people who are just like tangentially Yakuza fans, they're just like, what? They're changing up the gameplay. It's fucking bullshit.
I don't think I've seen anybody be mad about this, but then I haven't really been looking
I've seen like 1 or 2 people, but like it's most of the people who've actually like played and are fans of Yakuza are like, nah, this looks awesome.
There was a mini game. There was a mini game in Yakuza 6 where you had to go to a cyber cafe and then you had to talk to a girl on a webcam, and that video was of a real girl on a webcam talking to Kiryu, and then it was like a rhythm game, but when you press the buttons right, he would type like, "Oh, you look awesome today" in the keyboard. Yakuza's weird and funky, and the fact that you can recruit a crawfish, and that apparently I feel like at the end we saw an ultimate attack where a satellite laser shoots down onto the battlefield. I'm okay. I'm okay with all this. Looks good.
Yeah, no, I'm totally down. I'm actually looking forward to this.
We also got we got basically like it's not the exact same trailer. It starts out pretty much the same as the original trailer.
It's a little bit shorter,
but it also shows some different things. Like they didn't show any of the bosses in the Japanese version. It was more just like an action montage. So we got an idea of what the story is actually about.
Yeah, we got subtitles.
So we got subtitles. So the main character takes the rap for clan boss, goes to jail for 18 years, comes out. Nobody will give him the time of day, gets shot, is dumped in Yokohama.
Yeah, he basically like takes this rap going, "Hey, I owe you, and this is the best way to pay you back.
Right.
Be there for me when we get back, and we'll celebrate as a family or whatever." And
right.
When he gets out, no one's there, and when he goes to the family, like they're like, "No, we don't. You're not allowed here. You're not a member of our family. Who are you?"
Yeah.
And because apparently the boss is like totally just like forgotten about him, and
I'm sure there's more to it than that, but and then you're in Yokohama and there's this crime family there. I would not be surprised if you have to work your way up for just kicking all their asses until you finally take over the family and then go back to get your revenge on your shitty boss. But in any case, the main character, like I said before, does seem a little bit goofier.
Yeah, and I think I said before we started recording that I feel like with this character, they wanted to be as far away from Kiryu as possible, personality-wise.
Right.
Because Kiryu was very, very stoic, very straight-faced. Like, he wasn't... Like, he had comedic moments, but they weren't like him being silly funny or doing something. Like, it was very much
like he wasn't falling out of trash cans that his butt got stuck in.
Yeah, like it wasn't like he wasn't doing pratfalls or anything like that. But it was usually like something funny would happen and his reaction to it was so stoic that it was juxtaposed to be funny.
Yeah.
So this character is not really super strong, but he's a little bit... he's a little bit more comedic. He's not like so like super sure of himself.
Yeah.
He's not as respected as Kiryu was. Like even in the first Yakuza game, Kiryu was still like, respected, and it's very clear he's not. Like he is literally when I'm assuming you take control of the character, you are starting from. It even says from rock bottom. You can only go up.
Right.
You can only rise up, and so you are literally rock bottom at the start of this game.
Yep. And I can't wait.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. Like I'm excited.
Looks really good. From there, we got just a couple more things real briefly. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered got a release date. It's launched on January 23rd.
Okay.
I don't really know why people care about this, as if I remember correctly, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles kind of sucks. But whatever. I may just be remembering it wrong. But we'll find out on January 23rd. This is not specifically a video game, but apparently Netflix in the Netherlands might have accidentally leaked the release date of The Witcher series.
Oh, okay.
So there was some stuff on social media that got posted and then immediately removed, and people think that this might be the way that it is. If this is correct, then we'll be seeing it on December 17th.
Okay.
The Witcher 3 will be out on Netflix. And then finally, a couple quick fun things. Apparently at Tokyo Game Show, they had the biggest gigantic Space Invaders cabinet of all time, which is apparently functional, but they don't actually letting people play it. But it's like this 20-foot tall, custom-made arcade cabinet of Space Invaders with actual Space Invaders running on it.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool looking. Like the pictures of it looks kind of weirdly normal, and then you see like a person standing beside it, and it's just like, holy shit, that thing is huge. And last but not least, I haven't talked enough about Hideo Kojima this week. So last week, somebody did some hacking in PT and found out something really cool. And that is that, like, when you get the flashlight in that game, who's the lady? It was like Emily or the demon lady, or Lisa, is literally attached to the back of your viewpoint. So when you turn around, so somebody basically did a motion and then disconnected the camera and played that motion back. And at a certain point, she shows up just behind you. And then as you're moving and you turn, it's like she just
stays behind you.
She stays behind you, so you can never see her. But what I think it means is that the way that she jitters, makes stuff happen in your peripheral vision, like the lights bouncing off of her make weird shadows around you. And it's like, that's the reason I like Hideo Kojima, baby. It's because you probably didn't have to do that, but hey, that's cool. And
no one knew until this guy did that.
No one knew. So.
Someone said sometimes in rare occasions, the stuff you can't see is the scariest shit of all.
There you go. With that, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to do full-on questions this week. So stick around, and we'll see you in a minute. John?
Yes.
It's almost time for questions because I got something I just want to talk about real briefly before we get to questions.
Okay.
So last week, some of you may have been watching the video that Man and I recorded for Blasphemous. You may have noticed that there wasn't any cursing and there was a lot more noises where the cursing would have been normally.
Yes.
I wanted to let everybody know, I mean, if you've continued watching the videos that Matt and I did for Greedfall, you will know that, I have not decided to censor profanity out of all of Rage Select. So mostly just a test to see, because I don't know how many people who listen to Rage Select know this, but, our YouTube hits are trash. They are trash garbage right now. And, I don't know if it's because people are just not interested in watching Rage Select anymore, but I have a feeling that it's more that YouTube is I've seen a lot of reports from a lot of different people about people subscribe to your channel and they hit the bell and they do all the things and they still don't get notified when you put up a video type of thing. So the Blasphemous video was just a single test to see whether not having any profanity in a video, if suddenly that one gets twice as many hits as anything else, then it'll be well, now I know, right? So, and we'll have to see moving forward. On that particular note, also, if you like Rage Select, maybe consider sharing videos on Facebook and stuff, or telling people or retweeting or stuff, because really, seriously, I mean, just YouTube, just very few hits compared to where we were even a year ago. And I don't think that it's because Rage Select is crappier than it was a year ago.
I'll also be honest. I like on my personal YouTube, I actually have subscribed to Rage Select. Never get a notification of anything being updated.
The thing is, I mean, I was talking to people about how like I watch every video that Jim Sterling puts out.
Yeah.
And every Monday he puts out a Jimquisition, and it is never in my recommended feed. Like it'll recommend to me Bon Appetit or Binging with Babish or some of those other things that I watch on a regular basis, because I don't really subscribe to very many YouTube channels. But YouTube knows what I want. So like when a new video comes up from somebody whose videos I've all watched, they'll give me a new one. Never get the Jimquisition. And like those videos have some vulgarity in them, and a lot of them are critical of like the video game industry. And I don't know if it's like a content filter thing. I do know that like, again, the hits seem to be in the pooper trash can. So, you know, if you guys like stuff, I would appreciate, you know, even just hitting the thumbs up button if you like it, right? If you're just watching on YouTube, you hit the thumbs up button. Great. Also, on that same by that same token, I did want to say, I know we haven't been doing as many intros recently. A lot of that has been due to, some of it's been due to scheduling. Like when Matt and I recorded Blair Witch, we finished at like 2:00 in the morning. We were both exhausted, and I didn't have time to do anything. But then some of them, like for Greedfall, it's just like, we didn't have a good idea for anything to do. So I wanted to make it, when we brought back the intros, to make it so that we do intros when there's a good, fun concept to do as an intro, right? And not just to pump something out just because.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're coming up on a lot of games that I feel like are fertile ground, and I want to get back in the habit of doing that. So if you've been missing the intros, they're not totally gone. It's just, again, I want to have an idea, do the idea, and then like make something that's not just there just to be there. You know, make something that's actually funny. So,
like the last intro we did.
Which one was that?
The one for that weird dream game.
Oh yeah, that one came out pretty good. Yeah, Dark. Yeah, that one
I
took
think
me
about what that was. Yeah,
an hour or like actually several hours. All that stuff. Reversing a person's speech is really weird. It's a really strange thing. So if you haven't watched the intro for Dark, DARQ, you should go check it out. It came out pretty well. I think that was the last like big production one that I did. I know Michael and I did one for Final Fantasy VIII that was just kind of a funny remaster joke. But anyway, mail@rage.com is the email address. We have a lot of emails because we didn't get to very many last week. We got a lot of Discord questions, so we're going to start off with a really, really, really big one from brand new patron Angie, who writes in.
What up, Angie?
And says, howdy, lovely Jeff and lovelier John. So I have a bit of a personal dilemma that I need assistance with. A bit of backstory. My ex-boyfriend introduced me to the tabletop game Warhammer 40K. I eventually migrated to Age of Sigmar and enjoy the fantasy elements much better than the science fiction of the 40K universe. But being involved in Warhammer has introduced me to a lot of new people, which is awesome. I really enjoy the people I'm meeting and hanging out with in the community, but I keep feeling like a total outsider. I'm not very good at the game, so trying to have conversations with people can sometimes be challenging, especially when they start spouting facts about their army and ask me about mine. Honestly, I just enjoy painting and building the models. Playing can be okay, but I'm really still intimidated by playing people because I'm so terrible at the game, and I really just enjoy painting and building more than gameplay. I suppose my real dilemma lies in having conversations with people. I'm still not super close with a lot of these people, but I feel like I'm starting to build friendships, even if it is just the beginning, hey, how are you stage. Well, I went out for dinner with two of my Warhammer friends the other day and ended up just sitting there for 3 hours as they talked about their respective 40K armies, then transitioned into how the Marvel movies stack up against comic books. I felt totally left out, largely because I couldn't add anything to the conversation, but also because I couldn't find a way to broach other subjects that I might have had a chance at actually conversing with them in. They were both really passionate about the conversation, so then suddenly developing an undying interest in comic books and somehow acquiring vast sums of knowledge on the subject through osmosis, or somehow becoming an expert in Warhammer armies, so I can have a conversation. I don't know what to do when that or similar situations arise. I mean, it wasn't like I was even there. I probably could have made some excuse and left, but I'd really been looking forward to hanging out. Is it rude to try to change the subject to something I can contribute to, or am I just being too sensitive about being basically ignored for 3 hours, or am I just a total wimp who should have taken control of the situation and tried to steer the conversation another direction? Do you have any suggestions about what to do when that kind of situation arises, or how to go about it? Use humor to diffuse any tension that may arise from changing the subject, or downright say, cool guys, but I'm changing the subject. Is that too harsh? I feel so apprehensive because I don't know them very well, or am I just overthinking this completely? Anyway, I know this email was kind of long and rambling, but thanks for reading, and any advice you offer may offer is appreciated. And from your new patron, Angie. So It's a kind of a tough one.
Yeah, it is. That's a very tough one.
Because it sounds like you're looking to make friends, but that you're not super into a lot of the stuff, right? Like, I was actually thinking while I was reading about the army thing that maybe the way to go is instead of playing Warhammer, maybe you become like the person who does all the best paint jobs, right? So that like you can like ask people if they want to do like a custom paint job for one of their armies or something, rather than playing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you enjoy playing, sometimes you just got to get over the hump.
Kind of reminds me back in my days when I was really into Magic the Gathering. I'm not good at Magic the Gathering. I want to make that very clear. I'm not good in any way, shape, or form. Like, I am fucking terrible. I've done a few like tournaments or whatever back in the day when it was at the height of the Magic the Gathering, because I had friends that were like who's hardcore into Magic the Gathering.
Sure.
Like, these guys would dump thousands of dollars into buying Magic cards like a month.
Yeah.
They were just totally into it, and because I'm friends with them, I wanted to hang out with them, and I got into it too. I'm not good at it, so I would try to, like, when it comes to deck building, instead of like playing strategically, I would make decks that were fun to me.
Okay.
Like, there would be a reason for, like, the deck I would have wouldn't make any sense to the people I'm playing against, but it makes sense to me, and the idea of what I did is fun.
Okay.
I would always lose because I wasn't playing strategically. I'm playing a very bad.
Because you're making weird joke decks over here.
Yeah. It would be like, people are like, well, you never make a deck that's this land type and this land type together because they're too, those type of decks suck. And it's like, I'm gonna make a deck that's
hold my beer.
Yeah, hold my beer. I'm gonna make that. Or go to a deck building tournament and somehow make a deck that's all one color, which is apparently not easy to do, and I've done it.
Okay.
But also a color that doesn't really work well for a deck building tournament.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I get that, because then, like, when my friends would have like the hardcore talk about Magic the Gathering, I'm just kind of like, I don't.
Yeah,
these are words. I recognize some of them. I don't.
You're just not as far into it. It's like when I start talking about Dark Souls. And you're like, hey, I don't have anything against Dark Souls, but like, you're way too into this thing.
Yeah. So I mean, I get it. I don't know. As far as like recommendations on how to steer the conversation in a way that you into something that you like, or that's something that you can contribute to, I don't really know how to do that. Sometimes I do exactly what you described, where it's like I just kind of sit there and just kind of like, okay, all right, yeah, and not really contribute anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes I'll just bluntly be like, yeah, I don't know anything about that. Let's change the subject. Or, hey, what about this other thing?
Yeah,
that I can talk about.
Yeah, it depends on, like, I mean.
And I don't always do it to the same person either, so it's kind of...
Well, when I think about it, it seems like, the thing that makes for a good friendship with another person is having some common ground, either having a common interest that the two of you can just, like, fucking freak out about, right? Or somebody whose personality is like, I can listen to people talk about whatever. Like, it's... I listen to people talk. Listen, you talk about wrestling. I don't watch wrestling, but I find when you talk about wrestling, I find that interesting, even though I know nothing about it and I don't watch it. So sometimes you can attach to people where, like, if you enjoy listening to them talking about Marvel movies and Warhammer 40K, and then you can just, like, kind of, you don't have to know anything about it. You're in a great position of just being like, ooh, tell me more about that if you're interested. But if you're not interested, then having a conversation with somebody about something that you're not interested in, it's kind of a bummer. And I guess it kind of comes down to the question of, like, would you be better off trying to find a way to be friends with these people you don't have a lot in common with? Or would you be better off trying to find friends that you have more in common with?
Yeah.
And that's really going to kind of come down to you. Like, if you know that these people are into Marvel movies, and you could try watching the Marvel movies and see if you like them, right? And then maybe you have something to touch base with that about. But I mean, like, if you have nothing in common with another human being, sometimes it's really hard to make a connection with them.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a lot of common ground to stand on, right? So, it'd be like if I was trying to have a conversation with somebody who was super into basketball, and it'd be just like, I like basketball, all right, but like I don't, it was one of those conversations where they start spouting off like stats and like, oh man, in the quarterfinals last year, fucking these guys did the thing and then it changed, and I'm just So I don't know if the answer is, because honestly, I can say that if these people that you're hanging out with are amenable to changing the topic, like you may try that, or just like at a lull, maybe try to pivot to something that you're into. And if they just don't take the bait at all, then it might be time to just kind of cut loose, because you're probably never going to, unless you're willing to take on some common ground that they already have. If they're not interested in meeting you halfway, then you may not have enough of a connection to be able to like really connect with them. Right. Yeah. It's sad, but sometimes that happens. Not everybody is friends with everybody else. So I don't know. I mean, it sounds like you're in a group, you're in a clique, or like a niche, like a fandom, right? But you're not really the biggest fan of the big parts of that fandom, right? Is that 40K is like by far, I believe, the most popular of the Games Workshop stuff.
Yeah.
But that you're more into the fantasy, the other war, what was it called? Age of Sigmar. Like you're more into the fantasy Warhammer stuff. And so if like you're hanging out with people that are super into 40K, they're going to want to talk about 40K. So if you're not interested in 40K, then you obviously don't have that middle ground. Now, the other thing that you can do is you could just not talk about this niche fandom, right? Most human beings have connective tissue that doesn't have to do with anime or video games or whatever. Like
how dare you, sir?
Most of the people that I talk to aren't into video games, but we all have life that's happening to us. Oh, hey, I had a great sandwich last week. Hey, you know what? We can all have the middle ground of sandwiches, right? Or like bad things happen to people and you empathize with them. And so there's a variety
of this picture of my cute dog.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's all that stuff that doesn't require the specialized knowledge. But again, like I'm smart enough to know that not everybody wants to hear about the deep backstory of Dark Souls. I am. But so I don't just, it's not like when I went out on a date with my first date with my ex-girlfriend, I was like, let me tell you about this game, Dark Souls. All right, it's incredible. Like I tried a couple times. I threw a couple of handfuls of sandwich bread out there in the water, and there was no activity. There was no interest, and so it was just like, okay, I'm just going to leave this alone. But there's plenty of other places for people to connect. However, if you are part of a group, like I have known Magic the Gathering fans who just can't talk about. Like that's what they talk about. Like that's their primary overriding thing they want to have a chat about is Magic. And if you're just not interested in it, then maybe you just go, this isn't for me, right?
Yeah.
Go find some people that are into it. So I don't know. Maybe that'll help. Sounds like a weird situation because if all those guys want to do is talk about Marvel movies and Warhammer 40K, and you don't want to talk about either one of those things, I don't think you're going to get the conversation steered. But if they're nice people, then, and I wouldn't recommend the whole just like stop the conversation to be like, I am changing topics.
Yeah, no. No.
But there is a way to kind of get in a lull or steer things in a direction, or, it's hard, and it's not something I feel like I can give you I can't tell you like what to say or anything. You just have to kind of work at it, Maybe just go out and work at it. You just got to go out and work at it. Talk to people. Just talk and talk and talk. Talk.
Like if they're talking about Marvel movies and they get to a point where they're it seems like there's a lull, and you're like, and I don't know what if you are, but you're like into horror movies, not necessarily comic book movies. You can be like, oh, by the way, have you guys seen the new trailer for
Take
whatever,
pick, right?
For It Chapter 2 or for whatever, and then go from there. Try to kind of find something that may be tangentially connected, like there's a through line with the thought process of it, and then see if they bite.
Right.
Because sometimes, I mean, like if I'm talking about comic books add on in, and then people are like, oh, comic book and the Marvel movies are so great or whatever, and someone's like, yeah, those are great, but horror movies, I'm like, all right, what's the conversation? Okay, let's talk horror movies. Let's do this. Let's go. Let's go. Let's do this. Yeah. And then go from there.
Because most people have more than just one or two interests, right? They have a variety of different interests. And it's just a matter of kind of finding something. It's just a question of whether they will. I do find it. I mean, I don't know the specific situation. I'm a little disappointed with these two for basically just like, if I was having a conversation and there was a third person, if you and I were having this podcast and there was a third person sitting here and we've been going on for 10 minutes and they hadn't said a thing, I'd be like, what do you think, third person? Do you have any advice for Angie? Right? Like you kind of trying to keep people from drawing in instead of just being willing to get so into a thing that you're just excluding another human being.
Yeah. And then, if they're talking about the modern Marvel movies, you'd always be like, but do you remember the Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie?
That's just you. You're the only one who remembers the Dolph. Well, I remember it too.
Yeah, Amanda remembers it.
Amanda remembers it. Yeah, that's why you two are married, because you both seen Dolph Lundgren. Yeah. Hey, you see Dolph Lundgren Punisher? Oh yeah, so have I. Yeah. Let's get married.
Well, it was literally every time we'd be like, yes, do you remember this rare and often not remembered gem from our past? Yes, I do, vividly. Oh, okay, cool. Do you remember this thing? Yes, I do. I have it on DVD. Holy shit, you have all the things we talked about on DVD. Yes, I do. We should date. I agree.
Yep. There you go. All right. This next question comes in from Seymour. Seymour says, Dear Jeff and John, this is one that we kind of answered, but he sent this in a while back, and I do want to talk about it. What's the deal with Epic Store versus Steam? A lot of gamers are mad at Epic for its desire to acquire as many exclusive indie games as they possibly can. People are calling it anti-consumer, but why? Exclusive games isn't something new to the industry. Both Xbox and PS4 have exclusives. The difference between the two is that I don't have to dump over 400 Canadian dollars on hardware just to play games. I'm not a defender of Epic or Steam. I have a Steam account with 2 games on it, but I don't see anything wrong with installing new software to purchase a game from Epic. Keep the rage alive. Cheers. And that's from Seymour. I think this is pretty easy. We've talked about it a little bit in the past, once or twice.
Yeah.
The first thing that you must know, Seymour, is that the PC never had, yes, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo console exclusives. That's a thing. But the PC master race has never had to deal with that before.
Yeah.
So I think it really irks them, this idea that you have this one central location where everything that you play is, and suddenly now I got to install this other piece of garbage, and I got other stuff over here, and it just but and as I've said before, the Epic Game Store it doesn't have the features that Steam has, right? It doesn't have a shopping cart. Right, you got to buy games one at a time. It doesn't have as many features as the Steam Store does. It doesn't have the forums or the community or all that stuff. And that stuff is really important to some of the people, especially if you are a primary PC gamer that is deep into Steam, right?
Yeah.
And you're chatting with friends over Steam chat while you're playing games, and so now you've got a whole other thing. You got to friend your friends again, and blah 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 blah. And I won't sit here and say that the way that Epic has gone about some of this stuff, where Metro Exodus was going to be on Steam, and then 2 months before it was going to come out, suddenly delisted and Epic Game Store exclusive, and it was like it. I think it's different. It's different when a game is announced and then it's on the Epic Store versus when a game was on Steam up to a certain point
and
then,
could be bought for pre-order,
right? And then flips to the Epic Game Store,
and then all the money had to be refunded.
Actually, I think a lot of them have honored that, right?
Oh, okay.
Or I know some of them have, Metro, I think it specifically said that, if you pre-ordered it, it's going to be on Steam, but it's just not going to be available for any additional purchases after this date. There is a whole thing about Tencent owns part of Epic, and that Tencent has connections to the Chinese government, and some people believe that the Chinese government will be then using the Epic Game Store to basically data mine
and spy
people
on American PCs.
I don't know that I've seen enough what I would actually call hard concrete evidence to believe that. Also, it would seem like a really stupid thing for Epic to do, considering the ungodly amounts of Fortnite money that they're making, for them to suddenly be caught up in something that would be potentially treasonous, or I don't know, just people don't take kindly to being spied on by a foreign power, right? Regardless of it's not like loot boxes where you're just like, I hate them. It's like, no, I'm uninstalling this whole thing and blah, blah, blah. But mostly I think it comes down to the fact that it's not as good a store as Steam, and that PC people are not used to having to do this, maintain different libraries. Like Origin was one thing because it was just EA games, but the fact is that,
or even Ubisoft's thing.
Well, that just launched recently. But the thing with Epic is that they've been really aggressive and then they've been really aggressive. It'd be one thing if Epic was putting garbage on there, but like they've been snacking things like Control and like Borderlands and Metro and Ancestors and like big titles that people, I don't know if Ancestors really counts, but like titles that people are either genuinely excited about or have a lot of like AAA backing behind them. So it's not like they're trying to build from the ground up. They're literally poaching stuff from the existing store.
Yeah.
On the other hand, as I've always said, Steam is a garbage fire, and at least Epic might force them to clean up their act a little bit.
Fix the shit.
Yep. So that's it, Seymour. For more, listen to the past podcasts. Keith writes in and says, what is Jeff and John, I think. Yes. The other day I was listening to an old Loading Bar podcast, and I remember you started out as an animator on Spill, telling your friends you had to draw your boss fucking a goat, which made me want to ask you the question, do you still draw occasionally or animate anything for fun? How big of a change was it for you when you went from animator to video game let's player and podcaster? Because listening to that made me think about how I went to school to audio visual engineer and ended up doing stand-up for a few years because people in my class just needed a cameraman, so I would go with them to open mic nights, and I was pushed on stage. I know it's different change from what my original job / role was. Sorry if that didn't make any sense, but stay awesome. That's Ken, not Keith. So I don't know. It's
more for you.
Yeah. It was very different. I mean, like, animation is creative work, and it's more about hunkering down and kind of doing the nitty gritty, drawing, animating, smoothing, that kind of stuff. Whereas, podcasting it's a lot more amorphous, right? You're trying to be entertaining. You're trying to make a joke, especially getting thrown in the deep end with, Corey and Jason and Kevin and Nick, right? Like those four all kind of knew each other, and they even had a few episodes of the Loading Bar before I ever came on. It was like really nerve wracking at the beginning. And then I was on the Loading Bar for a year before we started doing or at least 6 months before we started doing the
Let's Plays.
The Let's Plays. Yeah. Started with, we did like a Dead Space live stream once. And then I remember doing a Dragon Age video where I just recorded just raw footage that I don't think ever got put up because I think they were just like, well, we don't want to just like put an hour of game footage with nothing else up here.
Yeah.
It's like a comedy website, right? And then eventually Jason and I started doing the thing. So it was a big transition. And there was a transitional period there where like I started and I was doing the animation and writing the blog at the same time and doing like written reviews. And then it kind of got to a point where once I started doing the Let's Plays with Jason, where it was like I was kind of overworking myself because I was doing the Let's Plays and animating and sometimes still writing the blog, and I just had to start dropping stuff. And then eventually we went over to just doing it full time for the Let's Play. So it was a big transition. Honestly, I went to school to do animation and art because I didn't believe that I was I didn't think anybody wanted to listen to what I had to say. If I knew people wanted to listen to what I had to say, I would have started 5 years earlier, just my own channel, right? So it was a bit of a transition. I do not draw, though, much anymore. I don't really do much art at this point. Any free time I have is generally put into playing games or, chilling. But I don't know. Let's take some Discord questions. Let's see here. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. Jonathan Scratch writes in with a D&D question.
Okay.
So, I know you've had a little bit of experience with doing some of that, right?
Sure, yeah.
And says,
we'll call it that.
Yo, Jeff and John, I've got a bit of a life question this time. So I've been DMing a campaign for about a year now, and to be concise about it, 2 players are stressing me right the fuck out, man. They're both great people, but my God, this has become obviously therapeutic to them. They've had to move several states away recently, and now it's starting to feel like I'm responsible for their mental well-being. As much as I like them, they have driven off other players before because they were, quote, playing to character, unquote. And I'm thinking about stopping the campaign and restarting it with people I have near me and those who were driven away. But I feel like a complete bastard for even thinking that. I don't want them excised from my life, but my God, they're turning my passion into poison. Am I overreacting? Should I call off the campaign and start anew? I deeply appreciate you weighing in. Don't feel bad if you want to skip this bad boy. I'm fielding this question elsewhere in my life as well. All the good vibrations, and I wish you a good night's sleep. Your resident panic-prone fan, Jonathan Scratch. Have you ready to deal with problem players, John?
Yes.
Okay.
Never as a GM, because I never DM'd a game for D&D.
Oh, but like playing with problem players.
But I played with, and there was one game in which we had kind of a player that had actually driven off a few people, and then the rest of us kind of got upset and had his character killed in game.
Okay.
And it was a 4-game long set of events. Like, we were purposely setting up events to happen a specific way, and the GM was just like, you guys want to do it, that's cool, like, I don't care, like, fuck it, do it, kind of thing. And then once he was out of the game, the people who left came back, and he was all pissed off and upset with us. But it was just but at the same time, it was like and our reaction was always kind of like, well, that's the way the character was, kind of thing. And but he was literally pissing off everybody. He was even pissing off the actual DM, because he would do little things to cheat, and then he would also be a rule Nazi when it comes to D&D.
Interesting.
And like the whole point of the game, the specific game that he was part of, is that the DM was being very loose with the rules, and he purposely said, I'm being very loose with the rules because half of the people playing had never played D&D before,
right? And
he didn't want to go into a situation where he told them no, they couldn't do something.
Yes.
His idea was like, okay, let me quickly think of how we can do that.
Okay.
But he was very, very like, well, he can't do that because this rule here states, and like pull out his own dungeon master guy, and then he'd be like, that doesn't matter because for this specific thing, I'm using this rule set from this edition. Well, no, that doesn't work. Blah blah. It's like, no. I'm the GM.
Right. Like, you're not running this. I'm running this.
I'm running this.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was like, so the GM was like, you guys, if that's what you want, if that's how you guys want to resolve this, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And what's funny is he played it fair. Like, he certain things were supposed to happen in the game, and he would every now and then look at him and go, hey, can you roll for a spot check? And he would roll, and he would fail, because the funny thing was, and this is also something he knew, is that when it was a roll that he wasn't 100% sure what it was for,
right,
he would roll it legitly. But if it was a roll that he knew it was something he wanted to succeed,
right,
he would cheat the dice.
How
he would
so?
roll the dice in a specific way where they would land purposefully, where he knew that they would land on a high number. To succeed.
Okay.
It's a real cheese dick way to roll your dice.
Okay. Like he just turned it over with his hand.
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
Like, it's like half rolling kind of thing.
Okay.
But then the ones where he wasn't quite sure what it was,
right,
he would just roll. And this went on for like weeks, where he'd be like, hey, can you run a spot check? And he'd just roll a spot check, and he's like, do I notice anything? He goes, what was that about? He goes, oh, nothing, don't worry about it. And then, like, he wouldn't do it again for the rest of the game. And then the next week, it'd be like, hey, can you, just like in the middle of something, he'd be like, hey, can you roll a spot check? And you go, all right, no. And what it was is that all the stuff that protected his character, like, he had all these, like, because he also was one of those people that, like power protected his character, so that regardless of what happened to the party, he would always survive, because he had, like, these rings and amulets and things that would just protect him. We were stealing that shit from him. Literally, we were pickpocketing him. Like, rings on his fingers were being taken off, and because he kept failing these rolls, he would never notice.
Okay.
And eventually, one of the characters walked up to him in the middle of a fight and basically shanked him and goes, by the way, this has been a long time coming. Go fuck yourself. And then in character, and there was actually an actual in-game reason on why that character did that.
Sure.
And then he, blew up, like, I have all this protection, and he's like, so you're bleeding out, roll for spot check, and then he would roll, and then because this time he knew he rolled like a natural 20, and he's like, yeah, you notice all that stuff is not on you. Matter of fact, you're looking at the guy who just stabbed you, he's wearing all of it.
Yeah.
He's like, how would I not have noticed he stole all that from me? Because you rolled bad checks.
Yeah.
And it was just like he got pissed off. We still remain friends with the guy outside of the game because
Sure.
I mean, we were just like, dude, you're being a bit of a dick, and we wanted you out of our game of being. And that game was also weird because it ended with a lot of the characters going, like, I left the game at some point just due to time, and like eventually they were like going around into different dimensions slaying gods.
Right.
That's the crazy part that it went to. But the thing is, if you're not having fun with it, you just gotta be like, guys, I'm not having fun.
Yep. I had this same problem. I have a friend, or I used to have this friend who's kind of a dick, and I ran 2 different campaigns, and this guy played this whole like playing to character thing where he was just like, my character's just this big asshole, and he hates everybody, and he wants to fucking try to kill everybody. I had to bend over backwards constantly because it'd be like, you're level 2. This lich, like we ran a evil campaign. You're level 2. This lich is giving you a quest, and he's like, you will be doing my bidding. He's like, I refuse. He'd be like, this lich is level 40. You're level 2. If he blinks, you're dead. He's like, I don't care. My character wouldn't even care. I want to punch him. I want to attack him. I want to roll to attack. And it was just like, okay, you're dead. And it's just like, oh, well, that sucks. And then it's like, all right, well, I guess we'll keep playing. And now the rest of your party has to like try to role play the way out of it. And they get these situations that were just so fucking convoluted that I just have to be like, you know what? I'm done. Next week, we're going to revert back to the beginning of this. And I played probably 6 sessions with the same guy over the course of 2 campaigns. And he tanked one of them, and then he tanked the second one too. And the thing is that, Jonathan, it's supposed to be fun, right?
Yeah.
And if your players just refuse to play the game, then you shouldn't have to keep running it for them. Like, if you hate it, then it's not just about making fun for them. It's supposed to be fun for everybody. And there is an adversarial relationship between the DM and the players. However, it shouldn't be so adversarial that you spend your time making a campaign and then your players refuse to play it. You know, this guy kept trying to kill the people giving him quests because it's just, well, my character is fucking, he just has a bad attitude about everything. And he hates everybody, and wants to kill them. And it's like, well, then there's no reason your character would be part of this party in the first place because you're insane and everybody else is sane. So I would say, Jonathan, it really sucks when you feel like you're beholden to other people in a situation like that. I would maybe have a conversation with these 2 players and say, look, this isn't fun for me, and it's supposed to be fun. I need you guys to lighten up a little bit, or I'm going to have to just stop because I don't like making a campaign and then having to spend my entire time putting out fires. It's kind of like the guy that you were talking about, where like sometimes you get those Munchkin players who are just so interested in rule breaking OP and like power leveling and like finding ways around the DM to make themselves invincible. Then it's like, you can't do that. Like, if you do that, then like, what am I supposed to do? Right? Like, if you made yourself invincible and I've got 5 other people playing that are not invincible, how the fuck am I supposed to balance this, right? You get to do whatever you want to, and the other player's just sitting there like poor Angie from the first, email, just like, well, we all died in the first step, but apparently you're immortal, so, you got to have the right chemistry for D&D, right? Like, some people get so wrapped up in playing that it's just not fun. And if that happens, I feel like you can give them a chance and say, look, this isn't fun. It's supposed to be fun. That's the whole point of it, right? Like, if you guys want to keep socializing, I'll be more than happy to chat with you online, or we can play a multiplayer game. We can all get fucking the Division 2 and play that on the weekends. But like, if your characters are having fun at the expense of everybody else, that shouldn't be a thing. Like,
yeah.
And if you tell them and they don't care, cut it off, man. Like, I wish I'd cut that guy out of everything I had. He was just one of the core group people that I knew really well. And so it would have been, and he would have taken it as a really personal insult to have him only excluded from a social gathering of other people. It would have been like, inviting everybody to your birthday party and then just not inviting one other person.
Yeah.
And there was just no way to communicate to him, look, you're fucking it up. You're fucking it all up. Stop fucking it all up. Like, just play the game. Play the game. We're here to have fun and play the game. He killed half a town. He slaughtered an entire inn full of just peasants because he punched the innkeeper in the face because he didn't like the way he was talking to him, and the innkeeper fucking went to go get the cops, and on his way out he backstabbed him and killed him, at which point everybody else jumped up and they were going to go get the authorities, and he just fucking went in his murder rage and killed all the NPCs in the tavern where the quest was supposed to be. And I'm like, what? That guy was supposed to give you he was in the middle of giving you the quest when you killed everybody. What the fuck, dude? So frustrating. Anyway, let's see. Kate Josie writes in and says, "Hey, Jeff and John, I'm currently waiting out the hurricane that will never, ever hit me." These are the previous. So
You don't say.
Yeah. I made the mistake of being sad and bored after watching Dave Chappelle's latest special and how lazy I thought some of the jokes were. I posted a critique of it on Facebook, and a friend of mine laughed at it. I took it off and was still sad. So I learned my lesson again about posting a thoughtful thing on Facebook. Why do I keep doing this? Why do I get sad and crave social media? Do you get this way sometimes? I also had a class that demanded that I look at and post things on social media, so broke my social media sobriety. So this means I'm starting back over as of today. And that's from Kate Josie. You still do social media, right?
Yeah. I still post to Instagram and Twitter and Facebook.
But you're well adjusted and shit. He doesn't get to you. He doesn't.
No, I don't really. My Facebook feed is pretty much just friends that I actually care about shit that they do, and my Twitter feed is
carefully
none
curated.
of my friends. It's all famous people, wrestlers and movies stars and game developers and journalists, and literally if you looked at my Facebook feed and my Twitter feed, they're the exact opposites.
Okay.
Which is weird to me now that I think about it, saying this out loud. And then my Instagram posts to everything, so it posts to both Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah.
So literally, if most of my Facebook and Twitter is just me, it's just my Instagram posts, and no one tweets at me for anything. So,
and it sounds like you've got you've got a very kind of carefully selected group of people that are going to be, if you post something, they're just going to be thumbs up, that was great, I love your dog.
Sometimes they don't even thumbs up, and I don't care.
Yeah. I think that the answer as to why do I keep going back to social media, honestly, is because they've been working really hard for years to make it something that you do, something that that you want to do to trigger little dopamine rushes and stuff. The UI and stuff is designed in ways to keep you going to it. I'm off Facebook entirely. And I'm glad, because it means that Twitter, I'm still having a hard time leaving. I'm actually been thinking about blocking Twitter on my phone. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of social media. I can't tell you. I mean, it took me a couple of years to kind of detox out of Facebook, right? As I uninstalled the app, and then I would go to it in my browser, and then I finally stopped going into my browser. And then eventually I managed to break the habit. I think that it's not a thing where you just... If you do anything habitually, if you do anything on a regular basis, you don't just stop immediately. A lot of times you have to kind of
wean yourself off of it,
or even try to stop several times. You're going to try to stop, and then you're going to backslide, and then you're going to be no, I got to stop, and then you're going to try again, and maybe this time you get a little bit further and a little bit further, and then eventually you manage to get over the, kind of cross the Rubicon and get away from it. But yeah, I mean, I don't post on social media about my personal life. I don't talk to people about my personal life unless it's somebody that's here recording with me.
Yeah.
So I don't ever have to be disappointed.
Yeah. I mean, again, like I said, my Facebook is mostly friends and family, and I check it to keep up to date with them.
Right.
And then I'll sometimes post updates on Facebook so that they know that there's actually something more than just a picture from Instagram or or a link to some Kickstarter or something. Or pictures of Cayman riders or whatever, so that they know there's actually little bit more going on with me. Twitter, less so. Twitter is usually only when I'm feel like I'm saying something smart or funny.
Okay.
And even then, not really.
Okay.
But usually there I'll like share like projects or artwork or stuff from other people whose work I like. I'll share that, or sometimes I'll share out links from Rage Select that I'm on because you tag me in them. So it's like, all right, retweet, heart, whatever.
Yay, it worked.
But yeah, other than that, I don't really.
Okay.
And no one messages me on Twitter, so,
I'd recommend, Kid Josie, if you're having a hard time detoxing from social media, I highly recommend talking to human beings in the real world. I know sometimes that's harder, but I find that genuinely interacting with human beings, especially face-to-face, is a lot more rewarding than just the thumbs-ups that you get on social media. That's not to say you should keep thumbs-upping the Facebook and the Twitter posts and retweeting and hitting the like and the subscribe button and ringing the bell. That's.
I just like coming over to Jeff's house and waiting for him to say something to me, and I just give him a thumbs up.
That's right.
In person.
Yeah. John does manual thumbs up.
Yeah.
He also does that the different little faces on Facebook, like angry face, and like the face,
or a ha 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 ha.
Yep. It's kind of weird, but yeah, you got to work at it, and try to talk to.
I also tell Jeff to limit his sentences to 126 characters or less.
Yeah, he's sitting there with a little clicker, clicking off the words, clicking off the number of characters. Then you're like, and stop.
I don't care about this conversation anymore. I'm leaving.
Irritating. I have to hide it while we do the podcast. Septum Sin writes, Dear Rage Lords, I've been going through the podcast backlog and really love the Deadly Premonition sequential. Any odds of a continued sequential with the newly released, re-released Deadly Premonition, especially with a sequential or with a sequel on the way? Your patron Septum Sin. I don't like Deadly Premonition.
You don't like Deadly Premonition.
I really just don't like it.
I do. I love the shit out of it.
Yeah, there's just it's not.
Though I will say something weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so when Deadly Premonition first came out, I remember paying only $20 for it on its release date. $20, like $19.99.
Yeah,
on the Xbox 360.
Yeah,
the Switch version is $30.
Interesting. Well, it's got a cult following now. It's been remastered, John. It's got all the remasters.
I know. And also they changed the title of it to Deadly Premonition Origins.
Right.
And had to change the title card to say that, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only thing that's weird to me. Like I'm constantly like, did I pay? I remember only paying $20 for that, and like that was part of the reason I enjoyed it so much is that I didn't pay a whole lot.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, did I pay $20? Did I pay $30 and just thought I paid 20? Like, what's going on with my memory here? But no, I did buy Deadly Premonition on the Switch, and yes, I've played it. It's fun, and I love it.
It's funny though, because to be honest, it's my least favorite thing that he's done. Who is that? That's Swery, right? I like. I'd be more interested in doing a full sequential for D4 Dark Dreams Don't Die, because I liked how focused that game was. Yeah. It's just that Deadly Premonition was just like, I don't know, whatever, and I'm like, oh my
it's
God.
Interesting because there was an interview I was reading with Swery where the thing that people disliked the most about the game is that during the gameplay it suddenly goes into this like third person shooting mechanic that for whatever reason doesn't feel tied to the main story.
Yeah.
Like it's all supernatural and shit, but like it just happens randomly.
I tried typing in Swery game developer into Google and it autocorrected to sweaty game developer.
Well, that's about right.
I want to see what sweaty game developer gets me. Okay, never mind. All right.
But you regret that decision, huh?
Not really.
No. But anyways, like apparently those sections were added in at the last minute at the request of the developer because they didn't think the rest of the game was good enough on its own.
Okay.
And those are the sections that people hate the most and feel the least.
What, the action part? That was the only part I liked about the game. Yeah. The rest was just long.
I could also be wrong, getting parts of that wrong.
I mean, like long dialogue and just driving for 40 minutes and just. Yep, he's a crazy person.
I love the fact that he has a super long dialogue about Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
No,
that's fucking amazing.
And see, here's the thing: is that there may be a day when I go back and play it on my own, but like, oh my God, I can't think of a more boring sequential because you're just driving and then watching really long dialogue sequences, then you drive some more, and then you watch some more really long dialogue sequences.
But both you and Grant hated that game. Because I remember after when y'all actually quit, like put the kibosh on it.
It's like part 3 or part 4.
Like one of Grant's parties or whatever, I mentioned Deadly Premonition. He was like, "Fuck you!" in that game. That game sucks. I'm like, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I think that D4 Dark Dreams Don't Die is a better game than that. Like it's got that kind of like psychedelic, like time, ghost stuff going on. I even think that what was it called? Like missing the missing JJ Macfield in the Island of Memories, where the dying and coming back to life mechanic was there.
I never played that one.
Oh, it's weird. It's like a side scroller, but then like you can literally like when you die, you regenerate back to life, but like the way that you hurt yourself determines like you can break your legs and then use just your arm to like crawl through like really tight spaces, and then your like character will go back together. So strange. And I'm like, that seems interesting. I'd like to play that, but yeah, not Deadly Premonition. Not Deadly Premonition.
I am interested in 2 though.
Oh, and then The Good Life. Wait, do we play the tech
that
demo?
Hasn't come out yet. Or no, I don't know if we played. We didn't play the tech demo. No.
Okay,
or at least I did.
There was a demo for it at some point. What's Spy Fiction? That seems familiar. Oh, really?
It's a PS2 game.
Yeah, it's like one of those like Splinter Cell Metal Gear ripoffs.
Probably.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, let's.
But I think the answer to that is no. There will not be a return to the Let's Play sequential because Jeff doesn't want to do it.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
Grant will never agree to do it, and
I don't think Grant's coming back.
Grant's happy.
And I 100% know that Grant will not come back just to play Deadly Premonition.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact. I mean, the thing is that it comes down to this thing where there are lots of games out there that some people really love and that I'm not a big fan of. And I feel like when that happens, that some people really want me to play this game that I don't really want to play.
Yeah.
Like I was talking in the Discord chat today about a game that I've been considering for a full sequential for the new Patreon sequential. And as always, people just took that as an opportunity to start screaming titles of games at me. One person said Elite Dangerous, and I'm like, does Elite Dangerous even have a narrative? And also, I don't really like that game all that much. Like, somebody else, I believe, said Call of Juarez Bound in Blood, which like Chris and I played 30 minutes of when that week that Jason was out for Red Dead.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that game. I was just like, I hate this game. Why would you want to see me play more of this game? I just don't like it, So I've never really been able to understand the idea of just like, ooh, you hated that game. Why don't you play? Plus, also isn't Deadly Premonition like 25 hours long or 30 hours long or something? Good God, September. Come on. Dan K writes in and says, hey, Rage Gang, earlier this week in the Discord, discussion got brewing about customization options in games, a constant pet peeve being the lack of hairstyles for black people in most modern games, with things like Dark Souls and Monster Hunter being extra egregious. So with that being said, what games offer your favorite customization options? Not necessarily the best games, but the best options for for creating your character. I'm not a huge fan of GTA Online, but GTA Online offers a pretty fair amount of customization from your patron, Dan K. Which games would you say you have your favorite custom? Let me ask you, do you spend a lot of time making custom characters when you make a game, when you play a game?
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends on the game and I don't know. It depends on how much of the character I'm going to be seeing.
Okay.
Because, I don't feel like there's some games I do spend a lot of time in the character creator for, the WWE games.
Sure.
Or, I think I did for one of the Fight Night games. And I was the only reason I spent as much time is because I actually figured out a way to make it look exactly like me.
Okay.
But muscular.
Okay.
Which was fun. But that's because you could see their face. But games like Fallout, where I'm not, unless I move the camera out, I'm not really seeing their face.
Sure.
I don't.
So you see their face in VATS. That's the reason I always pick.
I mean, I always play with the character creator. I just don't do a whole lot with it.
I've really moved past wanting sliders. I always end up fucking up the sliders anyway. Like when I play a game with a character creator, I'll pick one of the presets and then maybe adjust the hair, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Like
I'll start with a preset, maybe adjust it a little bit here and there, and then pick hair and facial hair for whatever I want. But typically, it's not too drastic of a thing, unless it's something that I'm, like I said, like a WWE game or like a sports game, I guess you would say, that has those. Like I might spend some time with it. But
I think the one that was my favorite of all time is Sunset Overdrive, because it was just a bunch of like presets, and then you could change them whenever you wanted to. So you could just go back and be like, I've been playing as a black lady recently. I'm going to make a big beefy guy.
I also feel like the Saints Row games have always had pretty good character creators.
A lot more sliders in the thing I liked about Sunset Overdrive was the fact that it was just like 12 male and 12 female perfectly created faces. You could just be like, bah, 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 bah. You kind of put anything on anything, and it never looked too stupid.
Yeah.
Except for the character that we created when we actually played the game.
Yeah.
So, but if you give me a character creator, I'll try. I mean, like Matt and I were playing Greedfall, and it had character sliders, and like, we could have spent 10 minutes going through and putting all the sliders in different directions to see if we could make a monster. What's that? There's one of the channels, I think it's like GameSpot or
Polygon?
Kotaku. Polygon
Has Monster Factory?
Monster Factory, yeah, where they just make crazy looking characters.
Yeah, they try to break the character creation of every game they play.
Yeah, I know that you can make some fucked up stuff in the Bloodborne and Dark Souls character creators, because they're just like, skin color, here's the entire rainbow, do whatever you feel like.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I don't know. I'm less of a fan. I feel like I'm kind of glad that we're starting to move out of the era of making bespoke characters like a super important thing for every game, because I don't want to make my own character. Like, I just want a good looking protagonist. Like, I'd much rather have a protagonist, a non-customizable protagonist of literally any race, creed, gender. I don't care, because I feel like those characters are more interesting than when you just end up with a silent shepherd.
I mean, at the very least, if you really want to add some customizability, give them clothes options.
Sure.
That's about it. That's all I really need.
Yep. I agree.
I mean, hell, even Control has clothing options.
Haven't got there yet, you son of a bitch.
If you pre-ordered it with a collector's edition or whatever, you got clothing options.
I did not do that. So,
well, that sounds like that's your fault.
I bought a physical copy. I wanted to be able to loan it to people if they want to play it. I've been telling everybody. I was telling Jason Murphy about it last week, where I was like, hey, that Control game is out. He was like, what the fuck even is that? I was like, listen, this is what it is. And he was like, what? I want to play that. And I was like, good. Everybody should.
Yeah, I bought it.
Let's see if we can get one more in here. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. This one's been in here for a while, so we'll go back to email, finish up with Mauricio. Who says, hey, Jeff and John, Mauricio here. With job searching taking so much fun out of my way, hope hearing my question on the podcast will cheer me up. Sorry, it's taken so long to get your question here. Question, with Ian McDermott back as Palpatine, because I can't see anyone else doing that laugh unless it's him, and Richard Steven Horowitz back as Invader Zim, what's... Mauricio, you really got to stop making it different. Like, this email's like full of different fonts and underlines and stuff. What's a TV show, anime, cartoon, movie, game series that you wish was brought back, and why? 2, with Marvel doing DLC for their movie now with this extended cut. The release after the release of the original movie. What movie would you like to have DLC? Like, there's a movie you like but wish there were a few more scenes to flesh stuff out. Thanks. Yes, I'm kind of glad Marvel lost Spider-Man, because I never liked the Marvel high school Spider-Man. Saw both movies and were just bored by them later. And that's from Mauricio. So I have not seen Far From Home yet, because I don't want to leave my house. Everything I got, it's in here. Also, a bunch of moths are in here, too. So.
The Mothman is downstairs.
TV show, anime, cartoon, movie, game series that you wish it could be brought back, and why? What would you like to bring back? What do you want to bring it back? I'm actually a little disappointed that they're making that like Breaking Bad movie. I'm just like, God damn it, you guys. There is a spinoff to Breaking Bad. It's called Better Call Saul, and it's amazing. Everybody should be watching it. It's fucking amazing.
I don't know.
Well, let's see. What are some defunct game properties that you wish you could
Brutal
see
Legend.
more of? Brutal Legend? Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, I really want another Brutal Legend. Part of me's like, they're at Microsoft. Microsoft has a ton of money for all the licenses. Make another Brutal Legend game after you're done with Psychonauts, please.
Who was Sunset Overdrive?
Well, unfortunately, they got bought by Sony.
That was Sucker Punch?
Yeah, they
Sucker
were
Punch?
just recently acquired by. They're the people who made the Spider-Man game.
Yeah, okay.
They just recently got acquired by Sony.
Okay.
Problem is the IP for Sunset Overdrive is still owned by Microsoft.
Sunset Overdrive was such a fun game. I'd love to see another one of those.
Yeah, and we'll probably never see another one
Probably
of those.
never see another one of those. Do you think that if the DLC for Control has Alan Wake in it and it does well, would you like to see? You talked earlier about wanting to see another Alan Wake.
I do
game.
want to see another. I want to see because there was more to
say.
Like it set itself up for more.
Yeah,
and they even had a sequel in the works that they scrapped because for whatever reason. So I am all for more Alan Wake.
Okay.
Also, like. Yeah, I'm also okay with Alan Wake just making brief cameos in other games that take place in the same world.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine too, if that's what you do. But I am all for more Alan Wake.
Okay.
I know we'll never get another Remedy Max Payne since they no longer own the rights to that IP.
Mm-hmm.
But
plus, what do you do? Do you retcon 3 or?
Yeah.
I was actually thinking of
what they should do.
Yeah,
is release a Alex Casey video game, and Alex Casey is the Max Payne analog that Alan Wake was the writer of in the Alan Wake game.
Oh,
so in Alan Wake, he wrote a gritty crime novel starring a cop named Alex Casey. The story sounded very similar to Max Payne. So, and they constantly make references that in one reality, there's a cop who's a gritty noir detective.
Right.
In another reality, there's a writer writing stories about that cop.
Okay. I was just, when I was thinking about Sucker Punch and Sunset Overdrive, it kind of took me back. I really wish that we could get another Infamous game. I really liked Infamous Second Son a lot.
Yeah.
And I just don't get the feeling with Spider-Man that they're probably locked into Spider-Man for a while. Also, that Killzone Shadowfall is actually a relatively good game that I feel like we'll probably never see. Poor Killzone, they kept trying to make that a thing for so long, and they finally did it with the fourth one.
But
I played all of those.
No one cared.
But by then, nobody cared. It was like it was a launch title for the PS4. Yeah, Wing Commander. I would like to see him bring back Wing Commander. So I was a fan of that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, EA bought Origin, and so they got all that shit. I'd say System Shock, but that's coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't really think of. I'm trying to think if there's another game. I mean, we're already getting another Bayonetta. We're getting Bayonetta 3 at some point.
Yep.
So I don't have to really worry about that.
I don't wish they would bring back Bloodborne or Dark Souls.
We're getting Deadly Premonition 2.
Yep.
We're getting another No More Heroes.
Yep. Yeah, there's starting to run out of things to get more. Yeah, I tell you what, like what it comes down to for me is like weird things where like these franchises aren't dead, but I want sequels like Final Fantasy 16, right? Where like I know there's probably going to be a Final Fantasy 16, but
just wish they would get to it.
I wish they would fucking do it. Or like Resident Evil 8, because I loved Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
And I'm probably sure there's probably going to be a Resident Evil 8, but I just kind of wish they would fucking shut up and make it already instead of making other stuff.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any other like games I wouldn't mind seeing make a comeback.
Castlevania.
Good luck on that one.
Yeah. I love Castlevania. It's funny how it's so iconic and yet we're just letting it like languish in obscurity and phone games and just shit. Just Konami, just bleh.
Yeah, but
I enjoyed the South Park games, and it hasn't been that long. But I'd love to see another one of those.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed both of those. But I think is South Park even back on the air yet?
Oh, I don't know. I don't pay attention to that.
I'm trying to think of anything from Nintendo that I wish. You know what? Nintendo did produce that Fatal Frame game for the Wii U. I would like to see them make something for the Switch. Yeah, because it wouldn't have the Wii U had that whole like use the controller as a camera type of weird thing.
Yeah,
I'd like to just have a straight up Fatal Frame game. Strider. Let's see a new Strider game.
Wasn't there a Strider game a little while back?
That was a Metroidvania one, but that was like 4 years old, 5 years old at this point. Yeah. Portal is my final answer. I would like more in the Portal.
So I'm going to have an answer.
Okay.
And it's for a game that you didn't like.
Okay.
And I'm actually also trying to think of the name of the game because my mind just blanked on it.
Tell me about it.
But it's Obsidian.
Alpha Protocol.
Yes. I would like them to try to make a good Alpha Protocol.
Okay.
Like, and the only reason I want to see it because the game while the game is not great.
Yeah.
There was a lot of potential there. Like, I felt like maybe just a little bit more time in the oven, they could have made something that was great. And I feel like maybe give them a second chance.
Well, if our Outer Worlds comes out really great, I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll just be like, all right, we're going to do Alpha Protocol, but we're going to do it right. We're going to do New Vegas, but we're going to put it in space. Now everybody loved that and it made a lot of money. Now we're going to do Alpha Protocol, but it's going to be under the ocean. It's going to be deep at the bottom of the sea. All right, and number 2, are there any movies that you want DLC for? Do you want additional stuff added?
Man, it's just DVD extra, Blu-ray extra features, man.
Yeah, director's cut, right?
Yeah, it's just Blu-rays, extra features, deleted scenes. That's all standard shit, man. They're just putting it in a theater now.
Yeah. What was that for Spider-Man?
And Avengers.
And Endgame?
They did it on Endgame, and then they did it for just recently for Spider-Man, though it was funny because they announced the Spider-Man thing the day after it got leaked that Spider-Man was no longer part of the MCU.
Oh.
And Sony got so much shit. But whatever.
I don't know. I mean, like, the thing is, take any movie that I've been obsessed with, right? Like, I'd love... Well, but see, part of that is like, okay, so obviously your baseline is like, pick a movie you really like, right? You would like to see more of that, right? Well, not necessarily. Like, I was thinking Into the Spider-Verse, I loved that a lot, right? Would I like to see more of that? I don't know that I would, because that's like...
There's a really good extra feature for Into the Spider-Verse where you can see an animatic of the original version of the movie, which is 100% different than the movie that we got.
Okay.
It's actually interesting.
Okay.
Like, it's... That Blu-ray is fucking packed with shit.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
Okay.
Like, I highly recommend, if you like Into the Spider-Verse in any way, I highly recommend checking out the Blu-ray for it because it has got so much cool stuff on it.
Well, now that I've got a console that can actually play 4K, maybe I will.
Yeah. But yeah, like that one like has whole scenes where Miles and like his roommate is actually a character.
Oh.
And it's the character from the comic, Genki. But there's a whole point where he's like trying to figure out how to be Spider-Man, and there's a whole sequence where they're reading a Spider-Man comic book to figure out how he's Spider-Man so that he can try. And they go to a movie, and the movie they watch is essentially like one of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies.
Okay,
and it's like this whole thing, but it's like a completely different movie with a similar plot.
Interesting,
kind of like how. Anchorman. I don't know if you know about this.
Yeah.
Anchorman released that Wake Up Ron Burgundy, which was essentially Anchorman, but all the deleted scenes, which were so much that they could make a second movie.
Right. And it was weird. Yeah. I'll tell you what. I'll give you an answer, Mauricio. I don't really care about DLC for movies, but if I could get what Devil May Cry 5 did with those optional cutscenes for other video games, I would take that in a heartbeat, with just a bunch of guys sweeting all the cutscenes for a video game in their garage, and then it just goes over to being this ridiculous thing with action figures and people dressed up all silly, and because that was pretty amazing. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I love those things.
With that, we're going to be done. That's it.
Hey!
Podcast completed. Thanks everybody for listening. mail@rageslate.com is the email address. Remember to send in your questions as they come to you. As you've heard this week, we don't just take video game questions, we take all questions.
And then we turn them into video game questions. Wow!
Damn right. Like a fucking evil sorcerer mad genius. Yeah. Make sure to tune in. Do all the stuff that I was talking about on Facebook and Twitter, and also there's Patreon, patreon.com/rageslate. You know what to do. It's been fucking 2.5 hours. We're done. Bye. Bye, everybody. Bye. Bye.